Didi, Prof. Zuru Simada, dan Mas Lutfi Mahasin ya, pembicara kita dari luar. Welcome, Prof. Ya, oke. Mungkin bisa dimulai saja ya. Oke, silahkan Mbak Umi untuk mengambil alih.
Okay, thank you so much, Pak Wija. Excellencies, distinguished guests, participants, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace be upon you. Good morning, and we are very delighted to welcome you all to our WCU UNDIP International Webinar entitled COVID-19 Pandemic, Public and the State, a Multidisciplinary Perspective, held by Master Program of Political Science, Department of Politics and Government Science, Faculty of Social and Political Sciences, Diponegoro University. The Honorable Vice Rector of Academic and Student Affairs, Diponegoro University, Professor Budistiono. Good morning, sir. The Honorable Dean of Faculty of Social and Political Sciences, Diponegoro University, Dr. Hardiwarsono. Good morning. The Honorable Vice Dean of Academic and Student Affairs, Faculty of Social and Political Sciences, Dr. Teguh Yuwono. The Honorable Vice Rector of Resources, Faculty of Social and Political Sciences, Diponegoro University, Ika Riswanti Putranti, PhD. Good morning. The Honorable Head of Department of Politics and Government Science, Faculty of Social and Political Sciences, Dr. Kushandayani. Good morning. The Honorable Head of Master Program of Political Science, Dr. Laila Firdaus. Good morning. The Honorable Professor Yazuru Shimada, PhD, from Nagoya University, Japan. Good morning, sir. The Honorable Professor Dr. Didi Rahbini from LP3S or INDEF. Good morning. The Honorable Professor Lutfi Muhasan, PhD, from Apsipol and Unsud Purwakarta. The Honorable Pak Wijayanto, PhD, from Diponegoro University. And also the Honorable Participant. Good morning. Excellencies, distinguished guests, participants, ladies and gentlemen, now we're going to sing the national anthem of the Republic of Indonesia. Thank you. Excellencies, participants, ladies and gentlemen, now we are going to listen the opening remark. On the behalf of the Dean of Faculty of Social and Political Sciences, the address will be delivered by the Vice Dean of Academic and Student Affairs of Faculty of Social and Political Sciences, Dr. Teguh Yuwono.
Okay.
Sir, yeah.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Umi.
Yes.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace be upon you, the Honorable Vice Rector of Academic and Student Affairs, Universitas Diponegoro, Prof. Budistiono, the Honorable Speakers, Prof. Yusuru Shimada, PhD from Nagoya University, the Honorable Speakers, Professor Didi Jerabini from LP3S Indef Jakarta, the Honorable Speakers, Lutfi Makasin, PhD from Association of Political Sciences Study Programs, and also from Universitas Sudirman, Purwokerto, the Honorable Speakers, Dr. Laila Khalid Al-Firdaus, Head of Master of Political Science of Universitas Diponegoro, Head of Department of Politics and Government Science, Dr. Kusandayani, all lecturers, students of FISIP UNDIP, and also all participants. On behalf of the Dean, Dr. Hadi Warsono, first of all, I would like to express my great thanks to all participants who joined this WCU UNDIP international webinar, which is organized by a study program of MA in Political Science, Department of Politics and Government Science, Faculty of Social and Political Sciences, Universitas Diponegoro. Ladies and gentlemen, let me share my PowerPoint to introduce you about my faculty, my institution. So, okay. Okay. So, our faculty now is going to promote this kind of target or program, which is in terms of supporting the vision and mission of Diponegoro University. Faculty of Social and Political Sciences is going to improve in the international level, which is I think this faculty is quite enough experience because established in December 1968, and this faculty I think has a lot of experience providing not only teaching but also many kind of trainings, many kind of program provided by the faculty. The Faculty of Social and Political Sciences consists of 5 departments, as in the earlier discussion when Prof. Didi Rabini asked. We have 5 departments. We are also now, we have actually 11 study programs, which we have now have 2 doctoral over it by our department. We have also now 4 master programs or master degrees. This is the process of internationalization of the faculty. We are going to improve not only the capacity of our local students, but also to make a national and international networks and partnership with reputable foreign institutions. This is important for the faculty in order to contribute to the UNDIP, Universitas Diponegoro vision, to become a WCU or world-class university. We have a lot of kind of collaboration with many universities and institutions across the world. I think there are a lot of programs like visiting a professor, like today what we are doing now is a part of this kind of internationalization, like international research collaboration, and then summer school, workshop and seminar, student exchange program, as well as international. We did already international seminar on social and political inquiries in, I think, September last month. We also improve many kind of international relation and international cooperation and conference. I think there are a lot of what you call it, of institutions that we have already make a cooperation, like from Singapore, Japan, US, Malaysia, China. There are a lot of Asian, South Asian countries. We also now, under our Vice Rector for Academics, under Prof. Budi supervision, we have now the new program called Diponegoro Master Scholarship, or DIMAS, which is this program is intended to invite international students to come and study master degree in our master program. We are now opening in the first semester, in the first year, to open this kind of scholarship for Master of Political Science. So in this seminar organized by Master of Political Science of the faculty, which is a part of our DIMAS program. Secondly, we have also Master of Public Administration also joining in the Diponegoro Master Scholarship program. And the third program is coming from Master of Business Administration. This is now in a process of preparation, and I think this semester, this study program will continue. We have several programs in Department of Public Administration, our oldest department. We have a bachelor program in Public Administration. We have bachelor program in Public Administration in International IUP class, International Undergraduate Program, and then we have also Master Program in Public Administration, and then we have also a doctoral program, PhD program in Public Administration. So this is the department that offered from S1 and S3, what we call it in Indonesian study program. And then we have also our second department, we call it Department of Politics and Government Science, what organized this WCU seminar for today. We have bachelor program in Political Government Science. We have also bachelor program in Government Science for International Undergraduate Program. Now it's the first year commencing the program, and we have a master program in Political Science. And then we have also doctoral program in, we call it this Doctor of Ilmu Sosial, which is this doctoral concentrate on two subjects of study, namely political science and business administration science. So everybody interested in joining to this doctoral program, we are warmly welcome to join. And then Department of Business Administration, we have two kind of, actually three type of program: bachelor program in business administration, and then bachelor program in international business administration under IUP class. I think this is second or third year of the program running already. And then we have a master program in business administration. This is quite a new program for this semester, but this is our favorite program because there are a lot of students interested in joining to this new master program of business administration. Everybody, I think, welcome to join to this program. And then we have Department of Communication Science. We have two kind of things, two degrees here, bachelor program in communication, and then bachelor program in communication science for IUP, International Undergraduate Program, which already, this is the older one, the oldest one, the first program initiated in IUP class in the faculty. So I think this program is quite enough in experience and in improving the skill of communication science. We also do have master program in communication science. So everybody want to join with us in this communication science, also welcome, because this also one of our favorite master degree who many people want to join with us for improving the study of communication science. We have then Department of the youngest one. We have Department of International Relations. We have only one program study here, call it a bachelor program in International Relations. This program also high enough demanding from the people to join to the faculty to the program. So this is the point I think related to our program for today, that our faculty is now affordable to improve our international cooperation, not only in the department level, but also allowing the program study in the study program to engage and to not only engage, but also to collaborate, not only in the national, but also international among the international universities and institutions. There are a lot of cooperation that we already mentioned before, like from University of Hong Kong and then Thammasat University, Mahidol University, and then also Prof. Simada. I think we are very happy to have you here to join us. We do hope we can then continue our cooperation, our collaboration with Nagoya University, Japan. And there are a lot of things I think we can then do to improve our hand-to-hand collaboration. We also have some cooperation with University of Putra Malaysia, also from Hanoi. Also, there are a lot of our international students also joining this morning with us to study and to discuss in this part. In communication also, there are a lot of institutions, like we already make a cooperation with Arizona State University, Walter Cronkite School of Journalism, and then also School of Communication in some international universities. As well as Department of Politics and Government Science from also Wyoming, from Arizona State University, also from Turkey, from Yale University Forum. We also have make a cooperation with some countries like from Malaysia, China, and Hong Kong. And also international relation department also already not only initiated but already make kind of good international cooperation with SHARE program, Dharma Siswa program. There are a lot of international students who also joining with our institution. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think this is the story about our faculty. Like we started this share. I would like once again to thanks to all the speakers who already joining us and provide for their time to be our speaker. I do hope all the participants will enjoy this discussion and get more benefit for being a part of our seminar. Finally, by giving a say Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, international webinar on the program of WCU FISIP COVID-19 Pandemic, Public and the State, multidisciplinary perspective is officially open. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I give it back to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for the information and officially opening this webinar. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now we're moving to our main agenda, that is WCU UNDIP International Webinar entitled COVID-19 Pandemic, Public and the State, a Multidisciplinary Perspective. And the discussion will be moderated by Pak Wijayanto, PhD. He graduated from one of the best university in the world, Leiden University of Netherlands, and he is a lecturer of the departments of politics and government sciences, and he also acting as the secretary of department of study program of political study program. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Pak Wijayanto, PhD. The screen is yours, sir.
Thank you very much, Mbak Umi, for starting the event and being cheerful, and motivated MC for this morning. Good morning, everyone. My name is Wijayanto. I will be the moderator of this very interesting webinar today. Excellencies, distinguished guests, participants, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace be upon you. I don't hear any reply. It's because you are mute, I know. That's why. Okay. Good morning, and we are delighted to welcome you to the WCU UNDIP International Webinar entitled COVID-19 Pandemic, Public and the State, a Multidisciplinary Perspective, held by Master of Political Science Program, Department of Politics and Government Science, Faculty of Social and Political Science, Universitas Diponegoro. The Honorable Vice Rector of Academic and Student Affairs, Universitas Diponegoro, Professor Budistiono, the Honorable Dean of Faculty of Social and Political Sciences, Universitas Diponegoro, Dr. Hardi Warsono, the Honorable Vice Dean of Academic and Student Affairs of Faculty of Social and Political Sciences, Universitas Diponegoro, Dr. Teguh Yuwono, with a red and white flag behind him. The Honorable Vice Dean of Resources of Faculty of Social and Political Sciences, Universitas Diponegoro, Dr. Ika Riswanti Putranti. The Honorable Head of Department of Politics and Government Sciences of Faculty of Social and Political Sciences, Dr. Kushandayani. The Honorable Head of Master Political Science Program, Faculty of Social and Political Science, Dr. Laila Khalid Al-Firdaus. And our Honorable Speaker, Professor Suzuru Shimada from Nagoya University, Japan. I think it's now about 12 already, because Japan is 2 hours earlier than us. The Honorable Professor Didi Rahbini from LP3S INDEF. The Honorable Lutfi Makhasin, PhD, Asbipol, the head, chairman of Asipol, and from Unsud, Purwokerto, and also all the honorable participants. Before we go to the keynote speech from Prof. Budistiono, I would like to let you know that actually this is the second seminar, from the series of seminars that we have. We're going to have 3 the consecutive seminars with the big title, Promoting Democracy in the Time of Global Pandemic. The first seminar was held in last August. It was about the promoting unity and diversity, and we have speakers from the US and other distinguished speakers as well. And today we will discuss another very important topic about the pandemic and the situation that we are currently facing. And the topic today will elaborate about how the relation between the public and the state from multidisciplinary perspective and we will have experts that will talk about it, but we also have a comparative study from Japan, in which will be presented by Professor Shimada. But to start the seminar for this morning, Professor Budistiono from Diponegoro University. I know there are many students here, and for students, perhaps you have very little chance to meet and to see in Professor Budistiono. Now you will know him and discuss about this very interesting topic. To all of the participants, I would like to mention briefly about the curriculum vitae of Prof. Budistiono. So Prof. Budistiono is our first professor in the Department of Politics and Government that we are proud of. Our first professor after more than 2 decades, I guess. Because I remember when I was a student back to 20 years ago, my professor in political science, Prof. Kaljan, but he is already Professor Emeritus. Yeah. So now we have Prof. Budi with us, in which you should be proud of. And Prof. Budi had an inauguration for his professorship in 2019. It was about the welfare state of Indonesia. And he got his PhD from Curtin University from Australia, master from Flinders University in Australia as well, and he is originally from Diponegoro University from Government Science, like all of you. Yeah, I know that there are hundreds of students, new students here, so you can be proud of. You can follow his path. Yeah. Okay, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we present to you Professor Budistiono, which would present his PowerPoint, his presentation, entitled Market Online Creation Empowerment Strategy for Communities Affected by COVID-19 Pandemic. Professor Budistiono, the Zoom, the Zoom room is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Wija, for a nice introduction. Good morning, everybody. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Honorable speakers, especially my colleague, Professor Didi Rahbini. How are you, Professor? And also, thank you for coming and joining with us. And also, Professor Yuzuru Simada, Pak Lutfi Mahasin, PhD, Ibu Dr. Laila Khalid Al-Firdaus, and also all guests and also participants in this conference. It is an honor for me to join with this webinar, and also quite happy to see all of your face here. I think I see that all of you in a good and health condition. I hope so. We can cope with this situation as soon as possible. We hope that the COVID pandemic will be away as soon as possible. So this morning, as instructed by Pak Wija, I would like to share with you my brief, I think, speech regarding this topic of the conference, the way the government and also the state correlate with the community in dealing with COVID-19. So I choose this topic for my presentation. Market online creation for empowerment and also empowerment strategy for communities affected by pandemic COVID-19. So I will make sure that you already see my presentation, PPT.
Yes, yes, we already see it.
All right. So this is basically the idea that come in my mind when I was asked by provincial government to give some idea how actually the government should cope with pandemic of COVID-19, and also to give the subsidy or social security protection for the people. And then I think in several times, the government tend to emphasize on the side of the consumers. I mean, those who consider affected by COVID, so making them not able to buy anything for their life. So the government provides some subsidies to make sure that this kind of people can be survived during the pandemic. But actually, in my opinion, that policy is not as simple as that, because if the poor, I mean also general people, given the cash subsidy, for example, and then they use the subsidy or the money for buying something that not making the economy can works again. For example, they spend the money for things that probably not very important, for smoking, for example, that come, or for buying foreign products. Then the subsidy will not have any impact, or they will not have any higher impact for making the economy grows. The problem is that we know every single country now facing the recession of or the decline trend of the economic growth. So instead of giving the cash for the people for free, in my opinion, it is better for the government to make sure that the money can also can support or stimulate the exchange of trading among the people, and also based on that transaction, then the economy will start to grow again. So that way, I choose this topic for our discussion this morning. We might to review the happening of the COVID-19 pandemic, starting from January to March 2020. There was a China shock that the world see the start of the pandemic from China at that time, and then making troubles up to now. So on February 2020, for example, the global already faced sectoral disruption in many ways. For example, in terms of the air transportation, and also global trade, and also stock exchange become decline at the time. And then March 2020, not only sectoral, but every sector in the world going or affected by the COVID, then experience disruption further. And then also every country basically has been affected by the pandemic, so that the disruption not only take place in several, but almost all countries in all aspects of the human being, I think. And then we hope that in the late 2020, there will be recovery from the pandemic. Even in pessimistic point of view, there are experts who say that probably the pandemic will not end in 2020, but in 2021, or maybe longer than 1 or 2 years. In every stage of the crisis due to the pandemic, this is according to Hans and Stachman, and also Judy to Wild, saying that basically the stage creating many troubles in certain area and in certain way, so that if the world or the global community cannot face the pandemic together successfully, then the effect of the pandemic itself will go around and around to many more people, and also more area will be affected. So we have to find out the effective solution for the pandemic, and also the impact of the pandemic. For the pandemic itself, I think it is the task of the medical experts and medical people to curb the virus of COVID-19. For us, as social scientists, especially in the discipline of government and politics, we have to think hardly about the effective policy or the better policy, the best policy that we can offer to the government and also to the society in order to reduce the risk of the pandemic, as well as how to ensure that we are prepared for the end of the pandemic itself, or in the stage of recovery. What should we do in this sense? So in these articles, Hans and also Judy said that many countries actually have not been well prepared in coping with COVID, and also not only during the pandemic itself, but they said that most of the countries also not well prepared for the period after the pandemic ends. So that way we have to make a very good initiative or effective initiative in terms of policy, how actually when the pandemic ends, what should we do in this situation? Yeah. For example, there will be kind of hysteria, according to these authors. That will be hysteria in real economy. For example, when the pandemic completely ends, for example, there will be a number of people try back to the period of before the disruption, making them, for example, want to buy as many as consumable products, for example, in real estate, or even in very long period, the people actually are prevented to go to the restaurants, to the cafes. Then after the pandemic end, they want to get getting out for having lunch or dinner in the restaurant or cafes. Then probably there will be a lot of demand in the term of trading and also transaction for making the situation back to normal. So in that sense, we need to anticipate if that happened, then what should we do in the best situation and policy. As I mentioned, often the government in anywhere try to protect or provide protection to the people by providing social security or social safety program to make sure that the people can survive during the pandemic, and they provide cash benefit, and also provide sometime also providing them with food products or sembako in Indonesian words. Then they emphasize on that demand side, but actually social security and safety program actually is not solely charitable, but it should also have the ability to in the long-term period, empower the community to be better than before. So not only make them survive during the pandemic, but also actually should also encourage them to be having a better welfare system afterwards. So basically, the objective of that kind of protection and social security is not only fulfilling basic needs for the population, in like clothes, food, shelter, education, health, and everything, to make sure that they can be healthier, but also talk about life security, for example. So how the system can build life security to a standard that is appropriate for everyone. So there will be the prosperity line should be can be achieved by the people, so that in certain circumstances the people will live in prosperity or welfare. And also, Social Security also aims to push the personal potential higher. I mean, the subsidy, for example, from the government should allow people to find their potential to become human beings who are worthwhile to others, who meaningful to others. So even though the government, of course, they need to provide cash for survival of the people, but it should not undermining the potential of the people or making the people itself as, you know, dependable people. So they always asking for donation or protection from the government program. But the program itself should be able to make the people find their potential in the future, so that the program of the Social Security can strengthen their potential to grow. So as I mentioned, this is not the appropriate way. Actually, the government handled the pandemic by distributing food for the people. Even sometimes they disregard the regulation of protocol against health protocol against COVID. So, for example, they should not make the people gather in a crowd like this, and then they share the virus along with the way government distribute the food to the people, or to distribute subsidy to the people. But better we make a good system in such a way that the distribution of cash and everything for making the people survive using a good system. Yeah. So, for example, there are no need for the people to gather. Even sometime also the media said the key government officials tend to be tend to take the opportunity of distributing subsidy as the way they boost their popularity in front of the people. That's not the case, actually. In my opinion, it is better to government to provide a good system relying on probably IT, that the distribution itself will not make any direct contact among the people and also the distributors and also the receiver of the donation, or, you know, whatever the government provide to them. In reality, there are a lot of evidence that sometimes unsystematic distribution of subsidy from the government comes to inaccuracy, lead to inaccuracy of the targets, that further leads to the distortion and redundancy. So if the government, for example, provide, let's say, rice to the people when they are facing with the pandemic, so the people can eat using that kind of rice. But it is also, there is a probability that actually it is not the rice that people want or people need at the time. Because, for example, if we talk about the villagers, for example, probably they have the stock of the rice sufficiently. So when the government provide them rice, then they no choice to sell the rice in order to be able to buy something else that more important than the rice for them. So this is the example. This is actually not related to the COVID pandemic, but the news that when the government distributed the rice to the people, the people in the villages just harvesting their rice so that they sell the rice to markets in order to get money so that they can buy anything else rather than the rice. So in this sense, there are some redundancy or distortion. Yeah, the government aims is not appropriate or lead to the targeted population. so that the population itself feel it is not very beneficial to them. So in this sense, what I'm thinking is that we have to create market or the problem or the program of the government in order to make empowerment improvement for the people. Better the government creating a market. Market means there is supply and demand side that need to be having transaction one to the other to make economy growth or sustain. So if there are some supplier, if there are some traders, and there are some people who able to buy their product and services, then there are some kind of transaction. So from that transaction, we can assume that the economy can grow or can sustain and can run as in a normal situation. So in this sense, the program of the government should facilitate the run of the supply and demand transaction in this sense. We know that, for example, during the pandemic, the demand side getting looser and tend to decline because there is a reduction in the income, for example, so that the government should provide subsidy for the demand side, so the people can have the ability to pay the product and service on the market. But we have to also make sure that they use the money, the subsidy, to the proper directed target that make our national economy can grow again. So in this sense, we have also to make sure that on supply side, the government can also provide some subsidy. So in this sense, for example, the UMKM, the small medium enterprises, can survive to give supply and also produce and also services. On the other side, we have to make sure that the money given by the government are directed to buy products on the product and services that provided by the supplier, in this case, the small and medium enterprises. So both sides can have a transaction ensured by the system that provided by the government should be, and then based on that situation, then the economy can back to the normal again. So this is the illustration further. The transaction from the buyers and also from the sellers need to be strengthened by the government by providing incentive. For the buyers, government need to give incentive in order to strengthen the ability to pay. So people have money, so the money can be used to buy the products and also services from the seller. To the seller, the government need to give incentive to strengthen ability to sell or produce. So both sides being strengthened, and then there is a transaction among them. So and the government need to prevent the use of money given to the buyer not to be used for, let's say, buying foreign products, for example. So we have to make sure the locality of the use of the money can be beneficial to local people too, or domestic people. So in this sense, we need several actions required to make sure that situation take place. So in the side of the supplier, for example, for the small medium enterprises, the government need to formulate valid database, who actually they are, how they are affected by the COVID-19, and also the government need to identify the newcomers of the small medium enterprises that having difficulties during the pandemic. And then the government need to provide IT application system. So in this sense, the small medium enterprises can put in the system for online market like Tokopedia and also other online application. But the government need to be very careful. For example, in kabupaten level or in district level or provincial level, the government need to provide that kind of IT application that dedicated to the small medium enterprises. Of course, they have to be trained well so that they can give the service nicely in the system. And then they can have shops in the system, so that way people can buy their products and service. And then after that, the government need also to provide incentive. For example, if they have no investment capacity, so that they can start the business. In this case, the government need to provide incentive investment for them, so that they have the capital to open the production and services. And then after that, they can start the online stores. They can start the transaction online, and then slow but sure, the government have to make the small medium enterprises have the capacity better in the future in dealing with their consumer, for example, their consumers. And then in the demand side, the recipients of the cash, for example, the government also need to formulate database of those affected by COVID and in what sense they actually need to be helped by the government. Of course, in the first stage, the government need to provide basic need to the people, but the basic need should not distribute it, as I said, like distributing the rice or whatever directly, but better to provide food, provide money by system, by fintech, for example, so that they can buy the basic needs directly to the small medium enterprises that already in the IT system, on the online system provided by the government too, so that there is transaction among the people. And then they also need to be familiarized with fintech and provide fintech allotments, subsidy or vouchers, so that they can use that voucher for belanja or to buy product and services provided by the small medium enterprises in the other side. And then they have also can be given opportunity to access to the online applications, so that they can buy any product and service to the medium enterprises through the online system as Shopee or Tokopedia. The second thing that is also important is about workforce marketplace. The first is that it is important to make sure that the government provide, opportunity for the people to make transaction. The second step that government need to cope with the next stage of or post-pandemic COVID-19 is that the government need to build workforce marketplace. So, for example, there will be new investment probably after the COVID will open and start to recruit the workers. But remember that direct contact still be very dangerous, even though probably the pandemic already ends. But if we are not take carefully about the way we recruit the workers, the spread of the pandemic may start again. So that we have to be able to provide workforce marketplace in the way that the job seekers can find the jobs by online. On the other hand, also the head of the headhunters or the company can also find the appropriate candidate for their company through the online system. So in this way, there is a transaction too among the headhunters, the company, and the job seekers, but indirectly by the system, not face to face. Yeah. So in terms of security, I think more secure than if the recruitment delivered by conventional way. So in this sense, there are also some main action required to make sure that the transaction between the headhunters and also the job seekers can be take place. In terms of the supply or job seekers, basically we need the information system, of course. So in this sense, they can provide their CVs, upload their CVs, photos, certificates, etc. So can be accessed that information by the demand side or by the company, the headhunters, within minute, within even probably clap, within a click. So in Undip, we say that the job are just one click away, the motto of Undip Career Center. In this information system, if we provide reliable information database, when the job seekers can upload their CVs, photos, certificates, that can be the database can be easily accessed by the company when they want to start to recruit the workers. They can evaluate based on the database very easily. And then also need to bid potential resources, meaning that in the database we can make some clusterization of the workers in such a way that they, when it is needed by the headhunters, by the company do not need to take very long list of the people on the system. They can just click certain competencies or certain criteria by clicking the criteria, and then the system will shortlisting the candidate, so that way the headhunters or the company will be very efficiently using the database for recruiting the new workers. Of course, we need to provide training and incentive so they can meet the market demand, what kind of competencies and also abilities of the workers that important in the view of headhunters, so that the training should formulate the job seekers in that kind of situation, in that kind of demand. And also afterward, we can give them access to online job markets, for example, to access the information regarding what kind of company currently taking job opening and also vacation, so that they can adjust themselves, fulfill the requirements asked by the company. On the demand side, from the headhunters or company side, as I mentioned, they also should be provided information system. They need the information system to make sure that they can put the company profile, the trend of the workers that usually they employed, and also use the information system later on for recruiting the job seekers. Then they can also upload their vacancies database. So this information can be accessed by the job seekers. So every time the job seekers can see what kind of jobs available in the moment, and then they can apply for the job and getting involved in recruitment process. In this sense, we need to also give incentive. So the company that use this kind of information system, for example, we can give them tax haven, tax reduction, for example, so that they have the reason to make this application that most benefit for the whole entire population in Indonesia or in a country, for example. And then lastly, they also need to be to have the access to online job application. So every time, for example, they need workers, they can provide some advertisement or online recruitment or online interview through the system that can be easily utilized by also the job seekers. So in the sense, to conclude, I think we need to make or to build a strategy comprehensively to control the impact of the COVID-19 in the sense that we have to improve or empower the ability of the people for dealing with COVID, not only in terms of the health sector, but also in general life of the people. So in my opinion, there are 3 pillars that we might to take for making sure the marketplace application can take place. The first pillar, for example, we have to provide principal guarantee to a minimum existence, meaning that to make sure can survive in the basic need by providing emergency health services, providing voucher or financial technology for basic needs to buy the products, providing shopping discount voucher for secondary or tertiary goods, and also provide online shopping application. This is, I think, the first step or the first pillar government need to act. The second pillar is to make sure the principal economic stimulus can take place, meaning that the government need to provide business capital for small, medium enterprises especially, and also provide training and mentoring for incubating the business, fulfilling and supplying of raw materials when necessary, and also providing digital platforms so that the small, medium enterprises can open online shops to be accessed by general people. The third pillar consists of supplemental efforts. For example, the government need to make database information system, help desk, and also reporting, provide education or training institution assistance to make sure the socialization of the system can be take place effectively, so that every single population in the country can understand what actually being initiated by the government. And also need to create manpower marketplace creation, and in terms of labor intensive, the government need to take digital literacy to all entire population, so that the people can be very used to use the tools of online market for fulfilling the basic need, also the business further. So I think that the idea that I am to share with you in this conference, hopefully give some insights and also new ideas, but basically not very well structured, my presentation. So apologize if some of you may not be not understand or cannot follow my ideas perfectly. So thank you very much, and time back to you, Pak Vija. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Budi. That's a very interesting presentation, I think, and very relevant with our situation today. I think it's just yesterday. I was driving with my wife to department store, and we saw on the street people were queuing for a subsidy in, I think, in one of bank in Indonesia. So we were discussing about, it's not make sense. Yeah, it's a subsidy for COVID-19, but people were lining up very closely like that, no social distancing, no physical distancing. So perhaps the amount of the subsidy will run out, yeah, for shopping for like 2 or 3 days for 1 week. However, if they got infected by the corona, it will stay with them at least 2 weeks for the quarantine, and then it can worse the situation. So I think we really in need for a model, and the idea of Prof. Budi to integrate the technology, the internet is very interesting, yeah. And I think it's very relevant, and we should do that in this kind of pandemic. We still do now. We still do it in an old-fashioned way. If people have to line up like that. And the idea about providing a security card, yeah, for people, it reminds me to the time when I was in the Netherlands. We have a social security number which have all of our data, and this social security number will tell us exactly our situation, our economic situation, our health and everything that subsidy or anything like that, yeah. It's possible to be implemented to the people. That's why the name of the card is social security number, in which in the card there's a number in it. Prof. Budistiono, thank you for joining us this morning. Our Vice Rector 1, and because there's no question and answer for the keynote speech, so for students, for our students, if you want to know more about it, you can ask Prof. Budi directly in the class, yeah. But you can say that
you can text me
for today. Sorry, sir.
They can text to me.
Oh yeah, and you can text Prof. Budi as well. I think that's a very good thing too. Yeah. Hello, undergraduate student, mahasiswa baru, new students. Are you still with us? Can you follow our English? Yeah. This is I tell them this is also the time for improving your listening skill. Yeah. Okay. Perhaps you're still struggling now, but you'll be all right. You will get used to. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to applaud, yeah, to give applause to Prof. Budistiono in your own place.
See you, everybody.
I know you are very busy and a lot of things waiting for you, so you may stay with us, or you may leave the room as you wish.
All right, see you, everybody. Thank you very much.
Yeah, see you too, Prof. Budi. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we will go to the main agenda of today, which is the seminar. And now I see it's like 10:37, yeah? We will have until 13, so we will have around 2 hours and a half. And we have 4 speakers with us. Yeah. The title of our seminar, I will remind you again, is the COVID-19 pandemic, state and the public, the multidisciplinary approach. And before I start, we will, as I told you before, we have 4 speakers. Yeah, Prof. Zuzuru Shimada from Japan, Prof. Didi Rahbini from LP3IS and INDEF, Dr. Lutfi Mahasin from UNSUD, and Dr. Laila Al-Firdaus from Diponegoro University. Ladies and gentlemen, I will start, and for its speakers, yeah, you will have like around 20 minutes. So we will have 80 minutes in total, a maximum 25 minutes, yeah. So 100 minutes, so 1.5 hours, and then we still have 1 hour for question and answer. That will be the time allocation for this morning. And for the first speaker, we will have Professor Yuzuru Shimada. Are you with us, Prof. Shimada?
Yeah. Great.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Prof. Shimada, I met him for the first time, I think it was in 2012, yeah, Prof. Shimada?
Yeah.
In Leiden,
Maybe.
yeah?
Maybe.
At the time, Prof. Shimada was, I think you were doing your postdoc, yeah, in
yeah, sabbatical leave.
Sabbatical leave, okay.
Yeah.
Sabbatical leave in Leiden University, in Van Vollenhoven Institute, one of the most reputable center for the study of law, I think, in the world, yeah, Van Vollenhoven Institute. And back then, you know, usually I call Prof. Shimada just Shimada. So I feel shame now because, you know, actually it was the Western culture, yeah. So we just call by name. But today, it's very good, yeah, to have Prof. Shimada again with us. I and Prof. Shimada share, I think, same interest actually, because Prof. Shimada did his PhD about Indonesian media. Back to the New Order era, I suppose, yeah. And I was doing a PhD about the oldest newspaper in Indonesia, Kompas Daily newspaper. So it's really good to have to meet you again, Prof. Shimada. Last year, I guess, or 2 years ago, yeah, we meet as well in Semarang, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. In front of the, I forgot the name, the Simpan 7.
And
Simpang
Simpang 5. Yeah. And we visited also Kota Lama, yeah, during which we drank coffee together. Prof. Shimada, I will read briefly his curriculum vitae. So he is a professor from 2016 until now, from Graduate School of International Department, Nagoya University. Law and Development, Comparative Asian Legal System. And then from 2007 until 2016, he was professor of Graduate School of International Development, National University, Nagoya University as well. He was on sabbatical leave, yeah, doing research in Van Vollenhoven Institute, Leiden University, the Netherlands, about Indonesian legal history and the development of judicial system. And yeah, it's a very long list of curriculum vitae. I will not read it all because then our time will be spent only reading this very long. Yeah, it reflecting that Prof. Shimada is very productive academic. But I will read to you the title of his presentation. Today, Prof. Shimada will share the experience of Japan in dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. You know, we understand that this is a global pandemic, but we know very little about other countries, especially about Japan. Me personally, I know very little what happens in Japan. So this morning we will learn about law and politics in Japanese society under COVID-19 pandemic. Without further ado, I will give the time and the Zoom room to Prof. Shimada. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome Prof. Yuzuru Shimada.
Thank you, terima kasih. Selamat siang. Sekarang di Jepang sudah lewat jam 12:43. Maybe for me that using Bahasa Indonesia or Bahasa English is the same, but this seminar designed for the Bahasa English, so I will make my presentation on English. So thank you very much for Vijaya and Diponegoro University invite me to this how to say, a very interesting webinar about the COVID-19. So even though that the Japan is counted as a industrialized, highly developed country, but we also suffer the pandemic, and we also suffer the economic crisis, and also the social crisis as well. So today, as I said, Air Asia Japan is a member of the Air Asia, and they have the flight between the Southeast Asia and Japan. So they declared to stop their business in Japan. So because due to the decline of the passengers, so and most of their employees will be fired. So and this is not only the case of the Air Asia, but we also experienced many say the closing down of the both the big and small business. So this is a very big challenge for us how to address this problem. But today, because I'm a law legal researcher, so I don't have any idea, a good idea how to address this challenge, because this is out of my skill. So today I just explained that how is the Japanese legal system and backgrounding politics and society. So regarding the COVID-19. Okay, so let me share my window. I think I already wrote here.
Sure, yes.
Yeah.
Can you do it?
I hope I can do.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
I can do
wonderful.
it. Okay. Which can you see the big? I'm not sure. Can you see the big picture or the say the small picture?
Yes, we can see it. Yeah, we can see the big picture. Yeah.
Big picture. Is it okay for you?
No, it's full screen. It's wonderful. Yeah.
Very okay. So, my title of my presentation about law and politics in Japan, in Japanese society under the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay. This is a current situation of COVID-19 in Japan. So as you see that the first wave of so first wave of the pandemic, let's say the infection is around here. Well, just a moment. I want to change this moment. How can I control it?
Is it all right? There's a
no.
There is a scratch there.
Yeah. I think it's okay. Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah, we can still follow your presentation. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe this is a first wave of the pandemic around April, and now in July, in June and May and June, that maybe that the pandemic became, how to say, decline, that we resumed our economic activity. But after that, we how to say, experienced the second wave of the infection, and now here. And even though the number of the patient is downwarding, the declining, but now it's like this. So now the number of the every new patient is around 400 to 500. So, and this line is you know, that the number of the serious cases who have to use the mechanical ventilator. So, and maybe from this figure, we can say that first, the Japanese pandemic in Japan is relatively low level, and also that the number of the serious cases is not so big compared to other countries like United States and Brazil and European countries. So, and interestingly, that we can achieve this low-level pandemic is not by coercive or forcible way by the governmental power. But maybe this situation is one aspect of the voluntary obedience of the people to social restriction. Of course, there must be the many reasons that why the Japan can, how to say, keep our pandemic situation relatively low level. But one of the reasons must be the Japanese society or the, response of the Japanese society. But at the same time, that if we see the political context, that under this pandemic, it became more visible that the untransparent, less transparent attitude of the government in the public administration. So I'd like to discuss this topic, the political law and political situation under the COVID-19 pandemic from the first the society, Japanese society, how Japanese society responds to this situation and how Japanese society demands to the government. And another aspect is how the Japanese government, how to say, the characteristic of the Japanese government in the addressing or taking the measures against COVID-19. So first, this is the legal measures on COVID-19. That the most important legal regulation on to address the COVID-19 is Act on Special Measures Against the Novel Influenza. This law enacted in 2012 when the SARS or the other new novel influenza becomes a global concern. And in order to address to the COVID-19, the government and revised this law in March of this year. So, and this law, the measures taken by this law is based on the non-forced measures. In Japan, there are several regulations which allows to take the stricter measures, such, for example, that the rejection of the entry based on the Immigration Act, or mandatory testing and the forced isolation based on the Quarantine Act, and also the order of the hospitalization based on the Infectious Diseases Control Act. But at the initial stage, the government did not choose those stricter measures, but they use the more softer measures, not how to say, coercive measures. Maybe this choice because of the political and social considerations that both the diplomatic, economic, and social. First, that there was a scheduled visit of the PRC, the Chinese President Xi Jinping, on 5th March. So if Japan applied that rejection of entry, so maybe that the Japanese government have to reject or have to cancel that Xi Jinping's visit to Japan. This is a very serious damage, diplomatic damage for Japan as well as China. And also that July and August in this year, that the Tokyo Olympics and the Paralympic Games are scheduled, but it's finally canceled actually. So, and the Japanese government also afraid that if Japan applied stricter measures, it might be difficult to have the Olympic Games as scheduled. And the last one is, of course, that the Japanese government afraid of social unrest if it took the stricter measures. And other than those political and social considerations, there are also the other political background behind the COVID-19. And as you know, that the former Prime Minister Abe, he declared his resignation last month. So, but his administration is the longest administration in Japan, more than 8 years. But the last period of his regime is more contaminated by the political scandals and corruption cases. As far as there are many political scandals, such as the alleged involvement of the prime minister's wife in disposal of the state-owned land to a private foundation with unduly low price. And also the alleged nepotism in permission for the new veterinary medical college with a personal relationship with the prime minister. And also there are opaque accounting process in government events. So because of those political scandals, there are more and more, how to say, complaint, criticism against Abe's administration when the COVID-19 pandemic becomes a serious concern. And also there is actual corruption cases at the same time. For example, the bribery by the former justice ministers in the election campaign. So finally, this former justice minister was arrested in Japan. And also that the bribery for the ruling party's parliamentarian in Casino project, so that he received the bribe from the Chinese company who would invest to the Casino project in Japan. So because of those situations, when the government have to address the COVID-19 pandemic in early February, January, and early February, the ruling party did not convene the parliament to avoid the criticism for scandal. So they're afraid. Of course, they should discuss about the pandemics in the parliament, but the ruling party afraid if they convene the parliament that they have to defend against the criticism because of those political scandals. So that's why the ruling party choose to make the more closed, less transparent decision making in addressing the COVID-19. And this is measures taken by the law for the COVID-19 infection. That according to the Act on the Special Measures, this is the Act on the Special Measures against the novel influenza. So this law more emphasizes the preventive measures, and this law clearly declares the importance of the respect for human rights and the restrictive principle. So Article 5 of this law, the title is the respect for the human rights. So this says that because the freedom and the right of the citizens should be respected, even if the freedom and the right of citizens are restricted when taking measures against the new influenza, such restrictions shall be minimum necessary to implement the measures. So the first principle of the action against the COVID-19 is respect for the human rights. So that's why the measures or measures which are allowed under this law is less restrictive. So for example, this Article 45, this law provides governor can only request residents to cooperate in staying home. So the government cannot, prohibit the people from going out their house. This is just only government can request. Maybe this is very different from some European countries and also the Thailand and the Philippines, so that they apply the stricter measures to prohibit the people with criminal sanction. So, but in Japan, maybe same as Indonesia, the government just can request the resident to cooperate in staying home. And regarding the business activity also that the government can request the persons managing places where many people shall use to restrict using or close the place or not hold the events. So this is also that the government asks the business actors to refrain their business, especially if their business gathering the many people in one place in order to avoid the crowded situation. So, but this is also the only request base. But for the business actors, in case that the business person does not follow the request above without legitimate reason, the government shall instruct the person to take necessary measures. Maybe instruction is stronger than request, but still that if anyone who don't obey the instruction, maybe what the government can do is just publicize their name like that. So still that very, how to say, the soft, moderate measures can be taken. So this is you know, the characteristic of the Japanese government's action against the COVID-19. And this request is a very important, has a very important implications according to Japanese constitution. So according to the Article 29, Section 3 of the Japanese constitution, it provides that private property may be taken for public use upon just compensation. Therefore, so if government prohibit or deprive the government deprive the private property, government have the obligation to give the compensation. So maybe the prohibition of the business activity considered as a deprivation of the private property. So if government prohibit or forced the business actors to do their business, government have the obligation to pay compensation. But the request is not the compulsory measure which are applied, that Article 29 of the Constitution will be applied. And it depends on the voluntary observance of the people. So that's why the compensation is not necessary. Because of this, in taking the measures against the COVID-19, the government doesn't have to pay compensation, and the government just offers the subsidy for continuing business for companies which accepts the request. But the amount of the subsidy is far less than their damage caused by the the business restriction, even though it's a voluntary restriction. Okay. And in another aspect is society. Maybe government doesn't apply the stricter measures, but there is a very strong demand from the society to the declaration of emergency. Maybe in Japan, that in March, especially in March, when we experienced the increasing the number of the new patients, there is accumulating demands for the declaration of emergency. But every day newspapers say that when the government declare the emergency, or government should emergency as soon as possible. And many people criticize the government, which was reluctant to declare the emergency. So finally, that the government declared the emergency on 7th April, just a few days after the Japanese government announced the cancellation of the visit of the Chinese president. Okay. So, and so in this slide, I'd like to explain that why the Japanese society demands the government to declare the emergency, even though that the declaration of emergency may have the severe negative impact to the society and the economy, but the people in Japan demands to the government. And how the society responded to the declaration of emergency. At first, there are the big social concern for the infection, that the people are afraid about the unknown virus, COVID-19, and the people wanted to the reason to restrict the social and the business activities. In Japan, that the relationship between the people and the government is quite unique. So that the people always wait the order from the government in order to do something. People need the legitimacy, even though that their action is voluntary based, but people need the legitimacy from the government. So if government say this is an emergency, people feel okay, we can restrict our activity, and we can force other person to restrict the activity. So maybe that the declaration of the emergency is the answer to the people's demands to get the reason to restrict the social and business activities. So that's why that the people criticize the government, which was hesitating the emergency declaration. And once the government declares the emergency, there are many cases of the social sanction against the violation of the voluntary lockdown. For example, that there are many cases if in some region that cars with other provinces number are stoned, or they are told to go out from this province. And also that some restaurants or bars which open their store during the restriction period, that they get the threat to for the fire, or bahasa Indonesia itu kalau Anda tidak tutup toko Anda akan dibakar, yes, like that. So there is a many voluntary social sanction against the violation of the voluntary lockdown. So maybe we call those activities a wannabe pandemic police by the people. So, and maybe this kind of very strong synchronizing pressure is one reason why Japanese society can, keep the number of the patients without the coercive political state measures. And also some universities are forced to apologize when their students are infected because of the social gatherings, such as the sport club or recreation club. So, and in March, that one of the private university officially apologized when its students just returned from the foreign countries, infected the COVID-19, and there is a strong criticism against the university. So this is a stigma for the Japanese universities, and this experience makes the universities, including the Nagoya universities, reluctant to reopen campuses. So now, just this month, many universities in Japan start the autumn semester, but according to the news report, only 80%, 80% of the university cannot apply the in-person lecture, and they have to. They still have to apply the online lecture system, so that the student cannot enter to the campus, and the student cannot enjoy their university life. So even though that maybe risk is that much lower, but the universities choose not to open the campus. Okay, and this is the last slide. So, and from the political aspects, that the politics of the COVID-19 can be called the close decision making. So there are three cases which characterize the Japanese government's attitude towards COVID-19. First is the expert committee, which is established in February. So And this expert committee raised the question on the political responsibility of the expert. So this expert committee is composed of the medical expert of the infectious diseases. There are no economists, no political scientists, no sociologists. So they are the purely expert of the medicine. So the government consulted this expert committee regarding the social economic measures, for example, that the restriction on the business activities, but they don't know about the business. They only know about the infectious diseases and the risk of the infection, but they cannot calculate or they cannot evaluate the economic or social impact of the social restriction. So maybe that the government, relied on the expert committee, the society complained that the expert committee is not should not be responsible about the social measures. So finally, on 3rd July, the government suddenly disbanded the committee without a clear notice, even for its chair. So maybe of course, the government felt they have to respond to the social criticism, but the decision to disbanding the committee without any consultation beforehand, government is unilaterally declared the disband of the committee. And another case is the social closure. Okay, Vijay, how many minutes I have?
Yeah. You can finish your last slide. This is your last slide,
Okay.
right?
Sorry.
No worries.
And
Just
next one, in school closure at 28th March. So government declared the school closure in March, but this school closure also resulted in the severe social impact without social impact. But this measure taken without preparation. The Prime Minister Abe suddenly announced the request for the school closure on 26 March. So he announced the school closure in 26 March and then school closed at 28. There are only 2 days preparation. So that the Japanese society are confusing, Japanese people confusing. And even the education minister didn't know this request in advance, that the Prime Minister said that this is my own decision. So, and he didn't discuss with others. And the last one is economic subsidy, that this is a political deal of the welfare policy. At first, the government announced to provide the support for the 300,000 yen to needy families who suffers economic crisis, economic difficulties. But after that, government suddenly changed its policy, not giving the support for the needy families, but to grant the 100,000 yen. It's equivalent to the 15 juta to the rupiah to all residents in Japan. So the government suddenly changed to their policy from the living support to the economic incentives for the people. And this change is the result of the internal negotiation amongst the ruling party for the political interest, because they are afraid for the next election if they don't give the money for the Japanese people in large. So maybe those measures taken without the discussion within the parliament, and also that there are no public discussion about those measures. This is a characteristics of the political measures taken by the government for the in addressing the COVID-19. Okay, this is my presentation. Thank you very much, Vijay.
Yep. Okay, thank you, Prof. Zuzuru Shimada. That's a very interesting situation. Yeah, I think some of Prof. Shimada's presentation remind us to our own case, yeah, in Indonesia. But some are also, I think, it's a little bit different, yeah, because I think the idea of a police society, in which the society helps the government, yeah. Or help to raise the awareness, yeah, have by giving sanction to those who who violate the protocol, right?
Yeah.
While in Indonesia we have some people who do quite the opposite. They violate the protocol, and they even give sanction, a social sanction to the medical apparatus. They believe that the medical apparatus were doing too much, intervening too much their lives, and therefore, and they don't believe the medical apparatus anymore. So they object to follow the protocol. One of the and some people in some area, they refuse. The nurse who passed away because of COVID, they refuse her to be properly buried in the public cemetery. So that kind of thing happens in our society.
In
But
Japan
we have
also that
similar,
some doctors or the family of the doctors are harassed in their school.
Oh,
yes,
really?
That school principal ask the student that children of the doctor not come to school.
Oh,
so
okay.
He afraid that the student will contaminated by the COVID-19 because his father is a doctor.
Well, it's very interesting, yeah. So some cases also similar.
Maybe this such a hysteric response is common all over the world, I think.
Yeah. Maybe we should do research about it, comparing Japan and Indonesia. And
of course, there are no systematic data that we can get those data, information from the newspaper reports. So, but this is a very serious discrimination against medical workers.
Medical workers. Yeah. Perhaps after this seminar, we will discuss about it. Of course, during the seminar, we will discuss about it further. But after the seminar, perhaps we can do comparison how the medical apparatus were discriminated, in Indonesia and in Japan. But before that, I think it's very interesting. I believe that many students and many participants here would like to know more about the situation in Japan. For instance, how could the subsidy, I read 100,000 yen were delivered to the citizens, and many others. We can discuss in the question and answer session. But now it's the time for the next speaker, which is Professor Didik Rahbini. Prof. Simada, would you you already ended the slides.
I closed the.
You already closed it. Now it's closed now here, so it's no worries. Yep. The next speaker would be Professor Didik Rahbini. Prof. Didik, are you with us now?
Okay.
Okay. Prof. Didik Rahbini. Yep. Okay, great. Prof. Yes, Prof. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker would be someone who is, I guess, already familiar with you, Prof. Didik Rahbini. I think he appears. He's one of, I guess, intellectual and scientists who are also public figure, intellectual public. I believe that all of the students here are already familiar with his face. He appeared on TV, I guess, very often. In one occasion, I was going to an office in Jakarta and to see Prof. Didik Rahbini, and the driver said, I guess I'm familiar with that face. Kayaknya familiar deh dengan bapak itu. Siapa sih itu? Kayaknya sering muncul di TV ya. And I say yes, he is Professor Didik Rahbini. And Professor Didik Rahbini is, I guess, he's an economist, one of the prominent economists in Indonesia. And today he would be sharing to us about the COVID-19 and in the economic perspective. But before that, I will read briefly the curriculum vitae of Prof. D. Rahbini. So Prof. D. Rahbini has written so many books. I count here is more than 31 books, yeah. And I believe I saw some titles are not in the list. So yeah, very productive, yeah, academic. And in this 2020 only, he already wrote and published 3 books. And his recent book is entitled Musuh Bangsa bernama Kesenjangan Sosial. Ya. The enemy of the nation, namely social gap. And also 2 other books this year about metode riset bisnis dan ekonomi, analisis relasi dan Israel, yeah, this very economic, technical economy. So perhaps I don't pronounce it very accurately. And also the 3rd book also in this year, Strategi Menguatkan Nilai Tukar Rupiah. Sehat ya, Prof? Prof Didi?
Does everybody here?
Hello, Prof Didi, can you listen to us? Do I have problem with my internet, or Prof Didi cannot listen to me? Anyone can listen to me or no?
Does
Hello?
everybody here not clear voice of Wijayanto?
Yeah, your voice is not clear, bro. I think we can directly to Prof Didi, yeah, to give his time.
Yeah, Pak Wija's voice is not clear, and
yeah, maybe you can directly deliver your presentation, Pak Didi. I will tell Pak Wija.
okay. Okay, please help Ria ya to share screen.
Hello.
Of
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I lost connection just
Shall
now.
I start?
It's okay.
Prof Didi, are you ready with your PowerPoint? Oh, yeah, great. What was the last words that I said?
I already let Pak Didi to deliver his presentation. Don't worry.
Okay, great. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Laila. Yeah, I had
Pak
trouble.
Pak Wija is having payment late of internet, maybe. That's morning joke.
Yeah,
okay,
please.
Yeah. Okay, good morning, good day, ya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, ya. Prof Budi may be leaving already, Pak Teguh, and then all speaker, who is Prof Simada, Ibu Laila, and others, Pak
Lutfi.
Siapa? Pak
Lutfi,
yang
ketua.
terakhir siapa? Pak siapa?
Pak Lutfi.
Pak Lutfi ya, ada di sini, nggak kelihatan. Pak Lutfi.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I got instruction from Dr. Wijayanto to present COVID-19 pandemic, yeah, from economic perspective, yeah. Maybe he got also instruction from Professor Budi. Okay, this is just joke, yeah. Okay, good morning everybody, all academic community in University of Diponegoro, and then all participants, some journalists coming here also, if possible, and any time there is a time, I will summarize in Bahasa. Okay, I would like to explain the pandemic COVID-19 in Indonesia from the economic perspective. Start from situation before pandemic. Yeah. Slide second, slide 2. Yeah, before COVID-19. No. That's before. Ria, don't move before I give instruction. Yeah. Okay. In this picture, I would like to explain the economic situation before pandemic. Yeah. This is graph. Yeah, the graphic. Tend to decrease from 2010 to 2020. Meaning that I would like to explain this picture. Even before COVID, the economic growth tend to decrease. So before pandemic, the government is also fighting for increasing the economic growth, but it could not be success. Okay? So now after pandemic, the government fighting for two issues, yeah? Economic growth and pandemic COVID-19. So, so the problem of the economy has been decreased before COVID-19, before 2020. If you see from 2018 to 2019 and to 2020, yeah, the economic growth decreased from 5.2, 5.0, 5.9, and even there is no COVID-19, yeah, it will be decreased because there is no clear economic policy on that issues. Yeah. Next slide. Yeah. As compared to previous decades in 1990s and 1980s, yeah, you see the picture, the average of the picture indicated 7% economic growth. This is of 7.0% average in 1980s and 1990 started from the crisis. So at that time, the economic policy, this is important for student under the administration department, yeah, public administration. You can see why economic growth low before crisis under Joko Widodo, and why economic growth high in 1990s and 1980s. Yeah, the answer is because there was a very clear economic policy and strategies at that time. Yeah? Started from 1982, Indonesian economic collapse. Yeah? Why? Because oil price decreased sharply up to $7 per barrel. So this is catastrophe for Suharto because 80%, almost 90% of the budget coming from oil. And one state-owned company's director having power like 6 ministers at the time, Ibnu Sutowo. So his power is very high, even he is only director. And then in 1982 collapsed, and Pertamina also collapsed. I predicted if there is a conflict, a military conflict at the time, I mean a politician and a military person conflict at the time, Suharto will be down at the time in 1980s. Because revival and then the good sound economic policies did by the government. And then after that, after 1980s, 1992, economic growth increased sharply. So there is evidence, there is best practice in policy before now, yeah, to be learned, yeah, by the student of administration department. Yeah. So this is the situation before COVID-19, yeah. Decrease from 7% to 6% under Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono, 6%. And then 5% and below 5% under Joko Widodo. And then recession after COVID. Yeah? Next. You see this picture starting second semester of 2020. Yeah, economy decreased up to 5.3% minus, and then next quarter will be negative too. So recession means 2 quarter negative growth. That means recession. What does it mean? A lot of companies collapse. Not yet. Yeah, a lot of companies collapse. Unemployment. Many of our neighbors do not go to working place anymore. Yeah. Unemployment and then poverty and so on. So this is a situation now, and the government fighting for 2 issues. Yeah, as I mentioned before, to control economic growth, not to go down to recession situation deeply, and controlling pandemic COVID-19. So this not so easy task for Joko Widodo, and leadership will be examined in this situation. Yeah? So as compared to Japan, maybe we have a different, and we will discuss later on. I think from Dr. Shimada is very good example, very good lesson that fighting COVID-19 in Japan managed by the medical expert, Indonesia managed by politicians and economists. So the result is different. Yeah? Next slide, please. Yeah? Next slide. Yeah? You see, this is a situation of daily new confirmed COVID-19 up to October 4. Yeah? Now October 5. Yeah? October 6. Yeah? So this is the current situation. Yeah? This is the result of policies and strategies in controlling COVID of the government of Republic Indonesia under President Joko Widodo. Yeah? You see, and then now Luhut turun gunung in quotation, yeah, to control this pandemic situation, but still up to October 4, the daily new confirmed. This only confirmed. This is only confirmed infected person, but unconfirmed infected person is different things. So, but we use this because we do not know the unconfirmed. Yeah, in India, there is a very sound and academic research that unconfirmed new daily COVID 8 to 10 times as compared to confirm formal confirm infected person. Yeah, in Indonesia, I don't know, maybe 3 times or 4 times, I don't know. Yeah, but this picture I would like to explain as compared to our neighboring countries like Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam. Even we add some countries like Japan, South Korea, and then New Zealand, and then Malaysia, Singapore, and so on, except Philippines, the same worse as Indonesia. So this is the result of our situation, our Indonesian situation. Yeah? So next slide, yeah. Next slide. This is also case fatality rate in Indonesia above Thailand, above Bangladesh, even above Malaysia, above average of the world. Yeah. So this is meaning that the policies and strategy to control COVID-19 under Joko Widodo is fail, yeah? Not success. Yeah? So you cannot imagine, you cannot think if the COVID-19 cannot be controlled, you cannot think will be success to increase economic growth or at least to reduce the recession. So this is like metaphor of ember bocor, yeah. You know ember bocor, yeah, leakages in bucket or in tank, yeah. Even you want to give stimulant 700 trillion rupiah, yeah, going to ember bocor, so this will be useless, yeah, if we could not control the COVID-19. Yeah? So what is the problem? I would like to, even not in my slide, yeah. Pak Wijaya, you remind me if more than 20 minutes, yeah. Yeah, even this is not.
Yes, Prof.
Even this is
Sure.
not in my slide. I hear Prof. Shimada. Yeah, in Japan, yeah, the role of the people, yeah, Japanese people, voluntary collective action, obedience, yeah, to protect individual, yeah, and society is very, very significant due to their discipline. Yeah. In Indonesia, there is no such collective action or obedience like that. Yeah. Even due to because of education and lack of knowledge, yeah. In Indonesia, there is limited voluntary action. Yeah. So for the student of the political science and social science as well as administrative public administration, the theory of collective action is very, very important. Yeah. So this is the key success of the government policy, or yeah, to manage the collective action of the people. As Prof. Shimada mentioned, the collective action obedient from the public, from the people, is very high, yeah, due to discipline, social capital, gotong royong, and so on, yeah, empathy, and so on. In Indonesia, sleep very limited, yeah. So for the government, if there is limited collective action and obedience, now should be the role of the government, yeah, to create collective action to have to make the COVID-19 control success. Yeah. So if there is no collective action coming from the people, the government has to create, yeah, government manage collective action. For example, to control environment in Jakarta, impossible for the people to reduce the pollution from the car, from the bad car in Jakarta. So the government create more tax, yeah, for the car, old car, and then suddenly that will be reduced, yeah. The environment control can be managed, yeah. So in Indonesia, there are no those two issues, yeah, collective action from the people and manage collective action from the government. Even the government mentioned that kesehatan, yeah, health is number one, but in practice, yeah, in practice, they make uncontrolled policy for COVID-19. Yeah. Now for the journalists attending in the seminar, I would like to say in bahasa Indonesia, teman-teman sekalian, ya, apa yang dilakukan oleh pemerintah itu bertentangan dengan Undang-Undang Dasar 45, dua pasal, yaitu pembukaan Undang-Undang Dasar 45 ayat 4 bahwa negara ini didirikan untuk tujuan, ya, melindungi tumpah darah, ya, melindungi masyarakat tumpah darah Indonesia. Nah, kalau pilkada diteruskan itu tidak melindungi tumpah darah Indonesia, satu. Kedua, melanggar Undang-Undang Dasar pasal 27 ya, di mana negara harus melindungi ya hak hidup dari rakyat dan kesehatan mereka. Dan kalau pilkada terus-menerus itu akan pilkada terus berjangkit makin tinggi COVID-nya, itu melanggar Undang-Undang Dasar 1945. Ya. So, as compared to Japanese policy in COVID-19 and situation of the people as compared to Japan, Indonesia is much different. Yeah? So the final next slide, my final next slide ya. Ria, mana Ria? Okay, next slide for the student ya. So the first issues to solve the problem for the COVID is we have to use the collective action. If we are success in creating collective action or voluntary collective action like in Japan, yeah, daily COVID firm only 100, 200, but in Indonesia 4,000, 5,000. So there will be a successful control for COVID-19 pandemic. Yeah. The second for the economy, yeah. We know the theory from the Professor Schumpeter. Yeah, he was 1932, became a professor in Harvard University. So this almost 1 century. The theory almost 1 century. Yeah? The creative destruction can be understood as the dismantling of long-standing practice. Yeah, in order to make a way of innovation. In the beginning, the old practice of technology, industry, production unit, yeah, will be destroyed, yeah, if there is new method, new technology, and new innovation, yeah. Because of this theory, yeah, so we have to prepare for the long-standing practice to make innovation, yeah. So this theory can be used by us, yeah, to compare the destruction situation, yeah, destruction condition under the COVID. The different, yeah, under the economic growth, the economic growth can be made because of the new innovation, yeah, the new technology, and then destroy the old technology. Yeah? But the COVID-19, yeah, the old practice like mall, pasar tradisional, yeah, and others destroys because of COVID, not because of the new innovation. So the solution, we have to create a new innovation. Yeah. To next slide. Yeah. So the next slide. Yeah, Ria. Yeah. So my proposition, yeah, my proposal for this discussion, yeah, this is the reverse of the Schumpeter theories. Yeah. The ordinary practice of trading, production, yeah, we close our companies, our industries, not because of the new innovation, not because of the new technology. We close all those factories, industries, and companies due to COVID. Yeah, yeah. To get inspiration from the theory of creative destruction, so we have to create new, yeah, technology. Yeah, for example, in quotation, I would like to mention tiang listrik revolution. Yeah, what does it mean? Yeah, national electrification index. Yeah, in Indonesia almost 100%. Almost everywhere can be reached by the tiang listrik of the electricity companies. Yeah? So very easy for the government to release, give the those tiang listrik for fiber optic, yeah, to expand our Wi-Fi, yeah, our internet, yeah, and order to the IT companies to decrease maybe 50% of the price of the Wi-Fi. Yeah? So with this Wi-Fi spread to the countries, we create new business, yeah, new e-banking, new e-education, and so on. Yeah? For example, I would like to mention to you, every day, this is the data from central bank. Yeah, transaction of e-commerce every day, 4.8 million, almost 5 million. Yeah, 5 million transactions. So this is still minimal. Yeah, because there is no new product, new innovation. Yeah, to have a transaction all over the region. Yeah. So in 1 year, we have 2 billion transaction, e-commerce transaction. So if we can multiply this 2 billion e-commerce transaction to, let's say, 10 billion transaction, so economy will be growing again, yeah, like before, yeah. At least we will have not very deep negative economic growth, but at least we have impasse zero growth that will be good for our economy. Yeah. Next slide. Yeah. So next slide. Yeah. Those creation. Yeah. Next slide, Ria. No. So those creation of new technology, new innovation, new production unit, new e-commerce, new e-banking, new education, yeah, that will eliminate all those negative sector, you know, like consumption, konsumsi rumah tangga, -5%, ya, belanja pemerintah, government expenditure, -7%, and so on and so on. You know. Even car sales negative almost 90%, and then now if you want to have Mercedes-Benz, Pak Wija, the price almost half, yeah, because of the zero tax, yeah, from the government. So you try to buy the Mercedes-Benz, yeah, Pak Wija. Yeah? So that's my the last, and then the second, next slide, yeah. The other implication for a problem of COVID, if we could not manage the such situation, the worst, much worse as compared to other neighboring countries, yeah. So the government will have a very deep burden. This is the highest after 75 years Indonesia independence, yeah. So we will have this year, Minister of Finance declare to have 1,530 trillion loan debt rupiah. So this is 20,000% much higher than the education budget for the university, for the 1,000 universities, for 100,000 elementary school, for 1 million student, yeah, and university student, yeah. This debt, yeah, government debt to 2020, yeah, 2020 is the largest, and this is 10 times as compared to the budget of President SBY, yeah, the first time, yeah, the whole budget, yeah, the budget of President SBY 500 trillion, but this is only debt, yeah, of the Joko Widodo is 1,530 trillion. Yeah? So the next president will have a big, very big burden of the government debt. So be prepared for the next president. If Pak Wija or Prof. Budi want to go fighting for the next president, be prepared for government debt. Yeah? I think that's the last slide, my final slide. Ria. So I think I already mentioned the solution, yeah, e-commerce, transaction, and so on and so on and so on, yeah, based on the inspiration from Schumpeter theory. And then that's, I think that's Pak Wijaya, my presentation.
Okay. Yes, Prof.
Wait for it.
Thank you, Prof. Rabini. I think that's for sharing insight with us about the pandemic here in the economic perspective. It's quite a murky situation, ya. Situasi yang cukup mencemaskan. We have the accumulation of debt as well at the same time. And also we have, recession, economic recession. It's already very close to us. There are many good points that also Prof. Didi have shared. Prof. Didi was the initiator of reform as well. Beliau adalah anggota parlemen ya di awal masa reformasi. Also the legislative member in Indonesia from 2004 and to 2009. Okay, Prof. Didi, I believe that there are a lot of students would like to know about more about your presentation, about the economic situation in Indonesia in the future in this kind of pandemic. But before that, we will have our third speaker, Dr. Lutfi Mahasin from Universitas Jenderal Sudirman. Hello.
Yep.
Can you follow me?
Mas Bija.
Yeah, because I'm afraid that I got a connection lost again, Mas Lutfi. Like before, yeah, it already happens 3 times to me. I don't know because I never have it before, yeah. And I still have pulsa saya masih banyak juga Prof datanya sebenarnya. Mas Lutfi has his bachelor degree from UGM, master from NU, and PhD from NU as well. So, Mas Lutfi, please, the time is yours.
Thank you very much, Mas Bija, for the time that given to me to share my insight on the pandemic and the relationship between public and the state in dealing with this pandemic. Actually, I'm trying to figure out why I was invited in this very important forum, sharing with the great scholar like Prof. Rahbini and Prof. Simada. The one answer, the possible answer that connect me to Diponegoro, perhaps because I attended my kindergarten in Diponegoro school, in Banyumas. So I just a joke that I'm connected somehow to Diponegoro. My presentation today entitled the COVID-19 and the limits of populism, the question of political trust or distrust and political legitimacy during the pandemic. I'd like to share my slide here. How is it, Mas Bija? Can you see my slide?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay.
Could you make it
Okay.
screen, perhaps?
The one possible question that arises from the pandemic in Indonesia in the early 2020, perhaps, is the question of how newly elected government deal with this unprecedented crisis. In the late 2019, nobody's nobody wondered that the newly elected government will do everything to transform further Indonesian political economy into the new puzzle as one of the largest economy in the world. There is a strong confidence at that time that Indonesia will be all right and will be great again, like the Donald Trump's motto. But then in the early 2020, something happened suddenly and everything changed. That's the COVID-19 happened, appear in the first in Wuhan at the time, Indonesian leader didn't believe that it will come too soon to Indonesia, but then it's become a daily reality in Indonesia now. So my presentation today deal with two important questions on as a political scientist. Of course, I will talk the pandemic in terms of a political scientist. The question, the commonsensical question arise from this pandemic is about the political trust and the political legitimacy of the ruling government and how they deal with this complicated issue. Yeah. So is there any correlation between the pandemic and the decrease of political distrust among the public, and if there is a correlation between the pandemic and the political distrust, then how it will erode or influence the political legitimacy of the ruling government? So I will use this theoretical frameworks from Crozier. Actually, it's published in 1975 as part of the written report to the Trilateral Commission on the crisis of democracy and how the world face the decreasing or delegitimation of political authority. So I think if we talk about the pandemic, yeah, there is some indication that the public become, more cynical to what the government did. Yeah. So we'll talk about that and how that's a negative trend counter in other area. Yeah, that's somehow people still believe to the government, and how in the long run it will affect the political legitimacy of the ruling regime. So I will connect to the what Didi already said about the prediction about what will happen to the next president in dealing with the large deficit and large debt. I think the question on the political trust, political distrust, and political legitimacy, it will be relevant to connect that economic concern to political concern in dealing with the pandemic. So if we talk about the political trust, we talk about how the public confident in the political leaders or the political institution, yeah, while the legitimacy is all about how public or the people accept, yeah, the legitimate political leaders. Yeah. So if I think the second framework that need to consider in dealing with the pandemic, there is a three important factors. The first one is the state capacity, how the government, how the state perform to provide safety, to provide the required measures, economically, politically, or culturally in dealing with the pandemic. The state capacity is closely related with the competent leadership, how the leaders can provide exemplary leadership in during the crisis, and how the people can trust. Is also very important. The third very important aspect in during the pandemic. So if there is one factor missing, then something trouble will happen. Yeah. Because the consequence of the weak state, it will lead to economic crisis, delegitimizing democratic institution, and also emerging a political vision. This will be a nightmare for Indonesia that is very plural and very diverse. Yeah. distrust, it will create a massive, massive hoax, massive confusion in the society, and in the worst case, it will lead to civil disobedience. And incompetent leadership is a consequence for during the pandemic is also very, very severe, because it will create not only a corrupt politician, but also political demagogue that's intentionally use the crisis for their own purposes without, caring their people that they should care of. So if we look at the overview of the pandemic from the early 2020, we can see that it's a very, very serious crisis. Yeah, not only in Indonesia, of course, but also around the world, because it's already affecting more than 200 countries with 35 million confirmed cases, yeah, with 1 million more dead across the globe. In Southeast Asia, Indonesia is among the worst, yeah, but because more than 11 deaths confirmed just 2 days ago from BNPB data, with more than 3,000 confirmed cases. Perhaps this number is misleading, because some epidemiologists said that perhaps the actual number more than the official number announced by the government, perhaps twice or perhaps 3 times than the official number announced by the government. In Central Java, in particular, there are for more than 24 confirmed cases and more than 2,000 deaths. Yeah? And as Pak Didik Rahbini said, that it's led to economic crisis in Indonesia. It's already, Indonesian economy is already contracted, yeah, compared to the previous period. Yeah, it also created a global economic recession across the continent, with more than 70 million people will live in poverty, and employment rise up to 5.5 million people in Indonesia alone. So it's very, very serious crisis, unprecedented scale of financial, economic, political crisis, and how we learn from the previous crisis that the crisis always creates something new. Yeah? In political terms, the Great Depression, for example, create what we call isolationism. What we know America today is not what we knew about America in the 1930s, for example, because the U.S. government at the time more isolated than now. Yeah, increasing nationalism in the third world, the fascism, and also the World War in Europe in 1945, 1939 until 1945. So the next question is how, after the 2019 presidential election in Indonesia, when we have a very popular leader, then the populism in Indonesia has its own limits. Yeah, the populism in Indonesia has own limit to address everything. Everything is not okay. Everything is very severe, and everybody affected from the pandemic. So how this create the public distrust to the government? I think there are some indication why the public is not fully trust to the government, because the mishandling of the pandemic from the early phase of this pandemic. In early January, for example, rather than closing the border and give a warning for the people to take a cautionary measure for preventing the pandemic coming to Indonesia, the government tend to promote tourism and open the border. And at that time, everybody seemed to be very confident that Indonesia would be an exception case But then just less than a month, everything was proven not okay. Yeah. So emphasizes on liberal solution to the crisis. Yeah, liberal solution means the government tends to emphasize on the individual responsibility to the crisis, okay, emphasizing on the measure of social distancing, wearing masks, while tend to ignoring scientific solution of tracing, test, and treatment. Yeah. In Indonesia, now the daily test capacity, according to WHO data, is only 0.16 per 1 million population. It's among the lowest in the world, and far less compared to other Southeast Asian countries like Singapore, Malaysia, Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, and others. So the incompetent office holders, there is this seem that the public official who are responsible for handling this crisis since the beginning gave a very mixed message here to the public. We have a incompetent minister of health who are not only incompetent in doing his job, but also gave a public speech that's misunderstood by the people and sometimes even create a controversy. So the changing terms from the Ministry of Health about the pandemic, yeah, we know the term used by the Ministry of Health about the ODP, PDP, OTG, something like that, is officially changed now, yeah, after 3 months of the pandemic, because it's not in line with what the WHO guideline. So the changing term is not only show the incompetence of the office holder, but also the unseriousness of the office holder to tackle and to take care of the people on how best to deal with this pandemic. The show of disunity among the elite leaders is also apparent. Yeah, when the PPSB in Jakarta, for example, was announced by the governor of Jakarta, instead of showing unity to the people, the central government officer seemed to be disappointed about the decision and tried to make a different path by not promoting the large-scale social restriction. So it also gave the mixed message to the people that something at the top level of the policymaker is not in unity to deal with this very serious health crisis. The not transparent about the actual number of casualties is also, everybody knew about that. Yeah. In the first 3 months of the pandemic, the government never talked to the people the actual number of the casualties by tending to decrease the actual number of the deaths. Yeah, and it become transparent only after the public question about the actual number, which is 3 or then 5 times higher than the official numbers announced by the gugus tugas. So the government seems to be more worried about the economic aspect and less on health issues. Is shown by the last decision by the government to run the local election in 2020, in December 2020. It will conducted in more than 270 regions across Indonesia. Political scientists, political observer, and also epidemiologists already warned the danger of the decision, because the potential to invite more than 100 people in the one in the one place, which is not in line with the health protocols to prevent the mass gathering. So, like what happened in Tegal when the people you enjoy the dangdut, show. It's only the small case how the seriousness of this pandemic is not resonate to the political elites. So this mishandling also directly influence to the public distrust that's already saw on the media, on the social media, on television, when all the health official and the doctor, the nurse, gave the social campaign on the social media or Indonesia Terserah or Indonesia Up to You is so desperate, the doctors in dealing with this COVID-19 because the government hospital cannot accommodate all the patients coming, while the government doesn't implement the discipline measure for the public to follow the government to follow the health protocols. Rejecting COVID burial protocol by people in many areas. For example, in Banyumas area, in my hometown, when the first death case of COVID in March, when people in some area rejected the burial protocol for the COVID because misinformation spreading from the WhatsApp, from social media message that is also will affect those who live in the nearby area, and the government can do something about that and just let the people to take their own decision. And it's also happened everywhere because the government official tend to to hide and not doing proactive measure for informing the public about what really happened of the death case because of COVID. The widespread of conspiracy theories, the news that the COVID is a part of biological weapon, is a deliberate spread to counter population, is also something that was consumed by the public during the pandemic. And many health officials said that this conspiracy is widespread among the population is really make their job harder to give balanced information about the pandemic. It's not among the ordinary people, but also even among the former top official. We know in 2008, for example, the former health minister under SBY, Bu Siti Fadila, seemed to resonate the conspiracy theory with her book entitled Saatnya Dunia Berubah, Tanggal Tuhan Diberi Terus Berburung, who basically said that the WHO is, adalah dalang the mastermind behind this pandemic. So with the different educational background among the population, this kind of misinformation and conspiracy will easily consumed by the people and make the government really hard to give the balanced information about what really happened during the pandemic. The information that the COVID cases tend to extract, the doctor tend to use the COVID cases as a motivation to extract money from the patient. And ID is only a proxy for the WHO is also some of the indication then that public distrust the government is also a serious thing. However, I'd say that despite all those negative things, we luckily have the government luckily have a very strong legitimacy after 2019 election, and I think the ruling government is very confident that they have a very strong support from the population. It is indicated by public opinion survey from indicator, for example, even though there is a slight decrease in the popularity, but still more than 50% of the population still believe in the government, especially for the Jokowi's presidency. Even so, there is a slight decrease to the confidence to the way the Minister of Health deal with the pandemic. So overall, even though there is a slightly decrease, but overall the population still strongly believe with what the government did during the pandemic. We also have a very positive trend at the local level, even though there is some disappointment to the national political leaders, but we also have during the pandemic a very competent local leaders who manage and can perform effectively as a political leader to to deal with this crisis by very proactively communicate with the people and how to handle everything needed for the safety of the public. Ridwan Kamil in West Java, for example, is the good example how the local leader performed very good in dealing with the pandemic, how he coordinated very well with all the head of the district across West Java. And this is also the reason why the spread of the COVID in West Java is relatively better than other provinces. Small scale mitigation initiative by local village, by local leader, especially among the head of the village government. Yeah, for example, not only in Central Java, in Yogyakarta, in West Java, is also a good example that even though there is a strong indication about public distrust, but at the local level there is also, a good show of a good leadership, competent leadership that can deal with the pandemic, in their scale, in small scale, at the local level. Solidarity on the rise is also something re-emerge again as part of the social fabric of Indonesian society, when the people help each other, those who in need, those who are not getting help from the government was taken care by their neighbor, is also a very good indication that Indonesia is also adapt very well with the pandemic. And the religious leader support to the government is also cannot be ignored, because as an informal leader, the support from the religious leader is very important for the government to calm down the panics among the population. So in conclusion, I'd say that answering the question on the political trust or distrust and political legitimacy, I think while there are indications of rising public distrust and weak of state capacity in handling the pandemic, there is still relatively high confidence to legitimate political leadership, and it's very good sign in Indonesia. Yet, containing or worsening pandemic and the state mishandling of it potentially lead to growing public distrust that potentially undermine political legitimacy of the populist leader. While populism might provide political platform in which symbolic legitimacy is strong, but the pandemic would eventually require another form of legitimacy, which is legitimacy of performance. It is a kind of legitimacy proposed at the first time by Professor Bill Leader in 1970s. Yeah, he divided the form of legitimacy into two, symbolic and legitimacy of performance. Symbolic means, everything's all about the symbol, about the about something not materials, to measure the public trust to the government. But legitimate performance is more about the the kinerja, about the actual work, about the policy outcome that you can deliver to the people. Minimizing health risk on the one hand and showing responsibility on the other hand is a very important source of legitimacy of performance of the ruling government right now. So I think I will wrap my presentation here by saying again that the pandemic show the limits of populism in Indonesia, and I think it will determine how the democratic institution in Indonesia in the next national election will change them considerably, and how the people will support the new kind of political leader that's not only populist but also can deal with the crisis effectively by by relying on technocratic and also scientific consideration. I think that's all my presentation, Mas Wija, for seminar, and I'm very happy to get feedback and question from the participant. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mas Lutfi. Dr. Lutfi Mahasin has presented, I think, a very interesting insight about the limit of populism. He says that only by relying on symbolic symbolic populism is not enough, because it needs work. It needs a real concrete work to handle the pandemic and also the economic problem that come along with it. However, there's something lingering in my mind, because Dr. Lutfi argues that there is a rise of public trust. However, there's also still a high level of confidence to the government. So what does that mean? That's kind of problematic. So it's distrust to who? Perhaps that would be the question that we can address to and discuss, to Mas Lutfi. But before that, we have our last speaker, the one and only female speaker in this panel, insights about the gender aspect of this pandemic. Dr. Laila Khalid Al-Firdaus, for those new students, I guess, in Diponegoro University students already familiar with her. Dr. Laila Khalid Al-Firdaus obtained her bachelor degree from Gajah Mada University, and then her master degree in Australia, and also is her doctoral degree from Gajah Mada University. I know that she is lecturing about gender as well in Magister Ilmu Politik Undip. So without any further ado, I think we, ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome Dr. Laila Khalid Al-Firdaus with her presentation about the gender aspect of this COVID-19 pandemic. The time and Zoom room is yours, Dr. Laila. However, it's maximum 15 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, bro. Okay, I will try my best to be a bit fast. So my topic here is COVID-19, gender and the state. So coincidentally, it is in the middle of the topic between Pak Budi and Pak Didi, as well as Pak Simada and Pak Lutfi. So it is a combination of a topic that discuss economic and human rights and also empowerment for community. So it is a good that I present in the later session. So I hope that I will wrap up all the ideas have delivered by all the speakers. So COVID-19 and gender. So actually, why we should talk about gender in the COVID-19? In my argumentation that COVID-19 pandemic impacted to everybody, but it impacted differently between men, women, and the other kind of gender. The difference is especially due to economic downturn and the close of school and other public facilities, which further leads to other issues related to gender as domestic violence. Men and women also responded differently to COVID and to the government's policy issued to lessen COVID-19 transmission as limitation on social activities, health protocols, and social distancing. So firstly, I will focus on how the impact of COVID on the public sphere of gender, namely economy, and then I will move on to the domestic sphere of gender on domestic violence and children. Then we will discuss how the state respond to these issues. First of all, economic impact. So economic downturn has led, has led by COVID-19 has different nature as compared to 2008 crisis. In 2008 crisis, two sectors that were mostly impacted are manufacturing and construction, sector identical with men. COVID-19-led crisis has affected service sectors as restaurants and hospitality, home industry, including small and medium enterprise and informal sectors in which women comprise the employment share mostly. Based on UN Women, globally women workers comprise 65% of informal sectors. Similarly, as Bank Indonesia noted, up to 2018, there are 64.2 million small and medium scale enterprise in Indonesia, in which 60% of them are 37 million were managed by female entrepreneurs. Circle Indonesia 2020 found that in Temanggung and Semarang, for instance, as a case, roughly there are 87% SMEs are impacted, yet interestingly, 70% asserted that they will not quit. Among them, 74 of the owners are female. Now, what about the COVID-19 impact on the domestic sphere of women? First of all, I think we can agree on the thing related to women burdens at home. According to Komnas Perempuan, there are triple burden on women during the pandemic. Firstly, doubling tasks of housekeeping for women than men. Komnas Perempuan described a bit detail what it means by housekeeping. It included like washing, cleaning the houses, etc. And secondly, children education at home, in which the demand is mostly beared by women instead of men. And then the demand also more specifically doubling for women with women worker, as well as women becoming single parents, and also the family economy. So in the times of pandemic, actually women also try to take a role to support the family economies in order to support the family's resilience, like through trading or maybe through online selling. So that is why in this paper, I argue that pandemic, yes, it is impacted everybody, but it impacted differently to women and men, and especially it impacted more, worse to women and to women than men. And then, what about the other side of the domestic sector of women that is impacted by COVID-19? Pressure in health and economy, in fact, do not stand alone. This further leads to another crisis to gender relations at home, namely domestic violence. As well, International 2020 noted that COVID-19 has increased the risk of violence against women, including the young women, and mostly the cases are encouraged by pressure in communities' economy. Komnas Perempuan and LBH Apik noted that since pandemic, reports on violence arose up to 319 cases from March to June 2020, and 3/4 of them are domestic violence. Okay, in addition to violence against women and young women at home, there are also violence that arise at home to children, especially that is caused by the school closure that force children to stay at home. Online information system on women and children protection, as reported by Save the Children 2020, has noted that during pandemic from January to June 2020, there are 3,000 children have been the victims of domestic violence. This is as paradox, as home should be a convenient place for children to spend their times during the schools off. I think we already heard a news that also reported the same case in which children aged 8 in Bogor was murdered by her parents due to she is recognized not to able to finish her school task. And then her parents got angry and then beat them until she finally passed away. So that's the only one of the cases that we found in the news, but actually under the surface, the violence against children also so huge. Okay, so what is actually the state response to the two issue, especially issue in public sphere and the domestic sphere? In relation to state response to the gendered economy, I mean economy that involve women within. Actually, we recognize that the state already try to set up particular policy to support entrepreneur, especially in small and medium enterprise. But we have to underline that the clear strategy for gender intervention within is not clear. Based on Pati Rosmarang and Circle Indonesia's research finding, the state view toward gender empowerment and economy is still far from ideal. There is unclarity in defining gender perspective, despite a set of regulation that has been issued. Gender mainstreaming in cooperative and SMEs, as asserted in MOU signed between Ministry of Cooperative and SMEs and Ministry of Women Empowerment and Children Protection 2020, and the program of Cispreneur in the Ministry of Women Empowerment and Children Protection has been launched. In fact, in local area, policy on SMEs still perform as if it is gender neutral, sometimes even gender blind, and the how-to aspect of women empowerment in SMEs during pandemic is not well defined. Okay, what about the state response to the domestic violence? In telling impact of the COVID-19, the state actually, as in economy, has provided access for violence against women and children reporting. So anybody, women and children, or maybe men or other kind of gender, actually can report if they are experiencing violence in the domestic sphere. However, not all women and children are aware of the facility. Not all women and children are also aware that violence against them is a problem that needs for their active response to deal with. The state strategy to change women and children's mindset on violence still needs for strengthening, and policy to deal with this issue in pandemic as PSBB needs for a comprehensive approach. According to Komnas Perempuan finding, PSBB, for instance, has contributed, or at least during the PSBB, Komnas Perempuan has identified that the case of domestic violence rise quite significantly. And as I mentioned earlier, the policy that try to resolve this problem is not effectively asserted, as in PSBB, as in Komnas Perempuan, identification that policy like PSBB still not integrate within the gender perspective that also provide protection for women. Okay, meanwhile, okay, this is my last presentation. So this is like an anticlimax, but it is the top of the argumentation. Meanwhile, as we might be aware of globally, 70% of health workers are women. In Indonesia, 70% 77.6% of health workers are women. Similarly, in education sector, women also play a crucial role, in which 61.1% of workers in education in Indonesia are also women. So I think my underlying view in this presentation is that there is no reason actually for us not to put more attention on women empowerment and protection, including in time of pandemic, given that they also play a crucial role in so many sectors, both in public and in domestic sphere. Okay, thank you, Bro Wija. I think that's it, my presentation. Fadu?
Hello. Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I think.
Yeah. I was disconnected by the internet without my permission. So
Okay.
sorry, but I noticed right after you finish your talk. Yeah. So Dr. Laila, I guess you finished your talk right already.
Yeah.
And I think Dr. Laila has ended her talk with a very strong and clear, solid argument that we need to pay more attention to women and the woman protection as well, and women empowerment, because of those problems that she has clearly explained in her presentation. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have 30 minutes, no, not really, 20 minutes to go, for question and answer.
Hilang. Okay, I will take over the panel if needed.
Yeah, I already saw Muhammad Adnan. Oh, it's hello.
Yes, bro.
Oh yeah, great. You still can hear me, because when everyone is silent, then I suddenly feel, oh my God.
Okay. I think we can just let Pak Adnan to
off again. Okay. I saw here that Dr. Muhammad Adnan already raised his hand. Pak Adnan, you would like to ask a question to us? I saw in the notification here, Muhammad Adnan raised hand. Pak Adnan, or anyone would like to ask for a question?
Okay. Thank you.
Oh yeah, Pak Adnan. Okay, yes, please.
I cannot unmute my speaker, so it should be the host.
Oh, that's why you're silent, yeah. Okay, now you're able. Perhaps Pak Adnan is busy with his just newborn grandson.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Pak Adnan.
Okay. Thanks for all presenters who have provided us very, very useful and fruitful information and knowledge. Excuse me, Pak Moderator and
Yes,
Professor Shimada. I'll express my question in Japanese, and Professor Shimada may answer in Indonesian. I think this is it is an international seminar, not an English seminar. Okay.
Okay.
In foreign language, not only English language. Okay, yes, Professor Shimada. Professor Shimada.
Prof. Shimada, are you still with us?
Yes.
Yes.
Still.
Right.
Ja, kono COVID-19 wa kami no ichiban yume na souzo de aruto omaimasu. Nihon jin no iken wa kono virusu ga shizen ka douka. それは一番質問。2番目の質問は、先生の意見では、または政府の意見では、経済的に世界がどれくらい続くことができます。 Domo arigatou gozaimashita. Finish, Pak Wijaya. That's my 2 questions.
Wijaya, should I translate the questions or can I answer in Japanese? The first question, yeah. Pertanyaan pertama, the first question about whether this COVID-19 is an artificial one or the natural one. And the second question is, as if I correctly understand that how long this world can continue. Berapa lama dunia ini bisa berlanjut? Ya, mungkin pakai bahasa Indonesia ya.
Nice.
Memang ada isu-isu yang isu berdasarkan konspirasi teori. Ada yang virus itu adalah buatan manusia dari laboratorium di Cina. Tapi karena kita adalah scientist atau social atau natural scientist, asal tidak ada bukti, kita anggap itu kita harus berdasarkan fakta yang jelas dan kita tidak boleh berdasarkan isu konspirasi atau data yang tidak boleh dipercayakan. Makanya menurut berdasarkan prinsip ini, saya anggap virus ini adalah salah satu buatan alam. Ya, dan ya, terus itu karena di dunia masih ada banyak sekali virus atau virus yang belum diketahui dan COVID-19 atau coronavirus yang baru ini adalah salah satunya. Kebetulan dalam oleh kegiatan manusia itu kebetulan manusia menemukan virus ini dan hingga manusia kena virus itu. Itu anggapan saya. Cuma hanya berdasarkan fakta yang sudah dipastikan. Dan tentang itu, bagaimana dunia itu bisa hidup selama berapa lama dunia itu bisa hidup secara ekonomis. Itu juga saya tidak bisa prediksi. Tapi mungkin walaupun itu kita sudah mengalami hampir mungkin sudah 10 bulan, tapi masih dunia bisa tahan. Dan pasti itu manusia bisa mengatasi keadaannya. Walaupun itu dunia sebelum COVID-19 dan dunia sesudah COVID-19 bukan sama, tapi mungkin manusia masih bisa melanjutkan kehidupan itu ya sementara. Saya tidak tahu itu 10 abad lagi atau 5 abad lagi. Ya, itu jawaban saya. Terima kasih.
Okay, thank you, Simada, Prof. Simada. Yeah, can anyone hear me now?
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Yeah. Pak Adnan, you have any further response to the answer, perhaps?
It's enough. Arigato, Shimada Sensei.
Ya.
Arigato gozaimasu ya. Pak Adnan already said thanks, sudah terima kasih. Jadi berarti sudah oke ya. Saya nggak nangkep tadi. Okay. Is there any? But selamat ya, congratulations Pak Adnan. Pak Adnan baru saja menjadi kakek ya, yang untuk kesekian kalinya gitu, baru saja lahir cucunya. Di pertanyaannya begitu luar biasa tadi dalam bahasa yang saya tidak mengerti. Okay, is there any other question from the participants to the speakers? While waiting for other questions, perhaps I would like to ask Dr. Lutfi about how will you explain that in your presentation you say that the public distrust is on the rise. However, public confidence to the government, to the political leadership, is still high. I find it a little bit contradictory. Can you elaborate further about it?
Ajay, can I ask to Prof. Didi Rabini?
Oh yes, yes, sure, Pak Teguh Yuwono, Dr. Teguh Yuwono, Pakal Dekan 1.
Okay. Pak Didi, Prof. Didi Rabini, my question to you is, can you actually make us a little bit detailed description on the economic vulnerability of our country? Because you said that the, what do you call it, the Indonesian, you said hutang luar negeri will very great, and this will become a burden for next government, for next president after Jokowi, because I think this is not a short economic problem, but will be longer, and maybe there are a lot of economic consequences that should be deal with our next generation. So my question is, if you said that based on economy, our foreign loan maybe will be very high, our economic maybe will be very vulnerable and not easy, difficult to find a job. There are a lot of unemployment or something like that. The question is our government actually able to handle these all problems? Do you optimist or pessimist? Thank you, Prof. Didi.
Yeah, I guess that's a very good question from Pak Teguh, whether our government is able to handle it or not with a very high situation. Now, how is Professor Didi prediction about the future of our nation?
How much is the economy? What I mean?
Yeah, economy. Yes. Perhaps because we only have 15 minutes left, so I will invite the audience to each one question for each speaker. So there are already one question to Dr. Lutfi, and then one question to Prof. Didi, and one question to Simada. Perhaps is there anyone who want to ask question to Dr. Laila and Dr. Laila, perhaps, so everyone can have her last statement, and also Prof. Simada.
Yeah.
If there's no question from the audience, then I will ask question to every speaker.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm
so
ready.
I have two questions to one to Prof. Simada and one to Dr. Laila, so that every speaker can have their last statement. Yeah. So to Prof. Simada, I was actually very interested to your explanation about the state policy, community policy, community policing. Perhaps you can explain further about it. And to Dr. Laila, perhaps you can tell the students, about me as well, of course, about the role of the cultural belief, to the violence to women. So that would be now everyone have one question. Perhaps I will invite first Prof. Didi to answer the question, and then Dr. Lutfi, and then Dr. Laila, and then the last statement. The last statement would be Prof. Simada. So Prof. Didi, are you with us?
Okay, Pak Teguh,
Yes, Prof.
Thank you inviting me in your seminar. This is very great event for us. So, am I optimistic or pessimistic? I'm optimistic for the future of the country. But as scientists, like a doctor, if the doctor, if you come to the medical doctor, or somebody came to medical doctor, and then they have a problem inside blood pressure and then lung and so on and so on. But if the doctor only mentioned, oh, you are only headache, go with paracetamol, go home. So this is stupid doctor. Yeah? So the doctor should be critical analysis to the problem of health of the somebody. Like me, I'm very critical on the analysis for economic situation. Yeah, the economists in the government will not be able to do this. Yeah, because they are in the part of the government. This is part of the intellectual economists in the campus. Yeah? As I mentioned to you, last year, the government with the parliament had a planning. This is a very formal, legal, under the law of Undang-Undang APBN, planning for government debt in 2020, 625 trillion rupiah to pay the principal of loan, and then interest of loan, and then the rest for development. But this is only planning. Yeah. Meanwhile, last year, 2019, the government debt is 925. Yeah. So these 5 years, Jokowi made a lot of loan for for infrastructure, but this is through BUMN. Yeah? But Pak Teguh ya, our budget only mention the payment loan only for payment of interest, and then for development. So the payment of principal disembunyikan. You get my point, Pak? Yes, the payment, because the principal should be paid also, right? And then the government has to okay, my my grandchildren, yeah. Okay, silent, yeah. Okay. So the answer, Pak Teguh, yeah. I'm very optimistic, but it should be critical. Yeah, our budget now 2,700 trillion rupiah. Our loan more than half of that budget, so it should be reduced. Yeah, in the future. Yeah, so this when I wrote the speech of the Speaker of Parliament of MPR, and had a criticism on a budget on loan. So this has become a discussion for 1 month in the public. Yeah, and the Minister of Finance headache with this critical. Yeah, but there is no economist had a criticism like this. Yeah, so the answer for the to mention for the student, Pak Lutfi, for Richard, yeah, there is theory what we call empire builders theory. Yeah? That empire builder theory, maximizing budget. So this is theory for public choice. Yeah, the characteristic of the politician is to maximize budget, building the empires. Yeah, to maximize budget, using the budget of the public as much as possible. Yeah. But if there is no check and balance, there is no criticism, that will be a problem with this budget. This is different from the market. The market, if we have a budget more than the average, and then selling product higher than others, then will be collapsed directly. Yeah? So there should be check and balance. And my criticism based on the example for Latin American country. Yeah. In 1870, Argentina is almost the same as England. But no, after more than 1 century, Argentina lag behind the England. Yeah, you know, the building like in Argentina because of the situation like this. Yeah, social, political, budget, and so on is not so good. So this the role of intellectual should be more critical, but not have criticism for people, for the person. Yeah, we criticizing the public issues like the budget. So I'm optimistic, but it should be critical. Yeah. Thank you, Pak.
Thank you, Prof. But it seems to me that our economy is not growing. The economy is, let's say, like stagnant, and then it seems also ministry and other department also not implementing the program. So it just worrying and stop doing economy. So the question whether you're optimistic is really happening in the real government management, Prof.
The problem is the leadership and economic leadership. That's the problem. Yeah.
No.
I already explained to you the period of 1980s and 1990s. The average of economic growth is 7%, right? And then under SBY is 6.5%. Under Jokowi, less than 5%. What is the difference? Yeah, the difference in 1990s, there is a very, very clear economic policies and economic strategy. What was that called? What was that called? Yeah. That was the outward-looking strategy, deregulation, efficiency of bureaucracy, export orientation, daya saing, and so on and so on. But you know, economic policy based on the evidence. Yeah, you know, Pak Harto did not understand the economy, but he followed the expert, the professor. Now the president does not understand, but not follow the expert. Yeah. He will give instruction for himself. Yeah, so there is conflicting. If you know Sri Mulyani personally, ask to him what is the economic policy process. Yeah, complicated, problematic. I know and I understand the situation, the process of economic policies, rapat terbatas, and so on. Yeah, so the leadership will be based on the who will give memo. Yeah. Suddenly change, and will be based on Pak Luhut, and others. Okay, that's a complication in the economic leadership. That's the situation, Pak. But I'm optimistic. If we criticize, then maybe it will be changed. Thank you, Pak Wija.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof. It's very interesting. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. Ridi. I think that's a very interesting and important point. About that apparently our leadership, our leader today, our president, according to Prof. Ridi, doesn't hear the word of the scientists, of the economists like Simulyani, but listening to Pak Luhut more, who is not economist. That's what distinguishes Suharto and Joko Widodo. So that's why Suharto had a good economic growth. I think that's the point, which is very strong and very interesting. And now I guess the turn of Pak Lutfi, Mas Lutfi, to give the final remark and as well as the.
Pak Wija's Wi-Fi is infected by COVID-19, maybe.
That's good point. Okay, thank you, Mas Wija. I think I get a very good feedback and for your very elaborative question. What I try to say is just a different side of the same coin. I just want to present the legitimate criticism to the way the government handle and mishandle the pandemic. And on the other hand, I also want to try that there's some positive indication that the people still confident to the government. The context for for my presentation is that there is a slightly decrease from late 2019 until July 2020. Right after the election, the rate of the approval rate for the president is more than 70%. But right now is slightly decreased. I think the Indonesian political indicator from my friend Burhan Muhtadi said that it's only 53 something. So I think the part of the explanation is because the way the government is set, perform and deliver the policy outcome that's not really satisfying the people. But on the other hand, the majority of people still believe in the government in dealing with the pandemic. So if we talk about the public trust, there is a decrease on public trust, but overall, in general, if we talk about the legitimacy, the way the government have the right to to decide the best for the people, I think overall the people still believe in the government. So I think we have to have a balance insight on how the people view the government in dealing with this pandemic. I think that's the point, Mas Vija.
Okay, thank you, Mas Lutfi. I think that's a very good point, to be elaborate, to be thought, and to consider, that actually the government should be still optimistic, like Prof. Didi has said, the situation is worse by time, getting worse by day. However, actually the government can still make it better if they want. So that's why we have to be critical to the government to encourage them, to be more to be better in handling the pandemic. Okay, next we will go to Dr. Laila to give a last remark and answer the question about the cultural aspect of the violence to women in this pandemic period.
Thank you, Dr. Wija. I will respond to things. The first one is your question, and the second one is my final remark. Relating to the cultural aspect of gender violence, I think if you mean by culture is something that is taken for granted, so there is no such thing that is taken for granted in gender violence. Those that seemingly cultural is actually structural, because the perception that violence is something acceptable or accepted by women, it is a result of the long constructions in which women are always, being dogmatized that they are the object of men, are the object of society, and the object of state. So the unawareness of women that violence is a problem, I think truly a structural problem as well. That is need for serious response from all relevant stakeholders, including the families, the society, and the state. And the secondly, I just want to deliver my final remark that in relation to this COVID-19 pandemic, that sometimes the government look up into something too high. The policy that they impose is also too far from the local context. Meanwhile, you know that as reflected from Pak Budi's presentation, and also Pak Didi and Pak Shimada, and also Pak Lutfi, that actually your potential and your strength are in the grassroots, in the community, like in economy, it is in SMEs, and more especially it is in women. So if you leave them, actually you leave your strength in order to be maximized in supporting the handling of the COVID. So it is my final remark. So please don't forget that this one that will really help you to survive and to better off your economy amid the pressure of the impacted by COVID-19. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Laila, for addressing such a serious problem and giving another perspective to the pandemic. Yeah, that is very important for us to know. And now we have our last remark from our speaker, yeah, from Japan, Prof. Zuzuru Shimada, to answer the question about Prof. Didi said earlier that actually Japan is still much better in comparison to Indonesia. And what you have that we think we don't have is the involvement of the community. Yeah, even though there's something, you know, you have also some critical notes about it. Yeah, sometimes the community involved too much, but that's in this kind of situation that's also good, because it means that there's a participation for the community to solve to fight prevent the pandemic. While in Indonesia, I guess the situation is vice versa. The public contributes in helping spreading the virus instead of to stop or to obey the protocol. Perhaps you can explain to us why such thing can happen in Japan, and then you give us also your final remark.
Okay, so there must be the many reasons and the various reasons why that Japan keep the pandemic in the relatively low level. As I said, maybe that the one situation is because of the Japanese economic condition, that maybe Japan can afford that more money for the treatment and the prevention for the pandemic. Yeah, so maybe this is due to the Japan's developed country, and also that we have the relatively high quality of the medical service. Yes, but maybe it's not only the reason, because if we see the situation in the Europe and the United States, they are experienced a much worse situation. And other situation is maybe that we can say that this is Japanese society, which has a more the restrictive by their self. So if people feel that they have to restrict their activity, people voluntarily reduce their activity without the coercive force by the government. So so maybe it can be, some people can say this is this is a Japanese society which is discipline, with more discipline, and it's a good aspect. Yeah, but in other aspects, maybe we can say this characteristic of the Japanese society is the high synchronizing pressure, or excluding the people, excluding the opponents from the society. So maybe that the disciplinary society and the high synchronizing pressure society, it's both sides of the one coin. Maybe we can evaluate this as a good thing, but we can evaluate this as a negative thing. So maybe we cannot say the society is a good one, but every society has advantage and disadvantage, and disadvantage is not always the disadvantage. Sometimes this disadvantage has the work positively. So, and also that we have some unique culture. For example, the Japanese society has very minimum physical contact. We have no custom to shake hand. Usually we have to naturally keep distance. That our the greeting is not the shaking hand or the hugging, just how the tunduk, it's like that. Oh, and yeah. Also, yes, and because of the the very serious pollen allergy in Japan, especially in spring, so that in Japan we usually wear the mask during the spring season, from the maybe late January to the early May. That's why maybe that very fortunately that how to say, the initial stage of the pandemic is coincident with how to say, pollen allergy season. So that the Japanese people is naturally wear the mask. So maybe there is some combination. And also that the Japanese people tend to obey to the government policy. If the people is like, how to say, favor to obey the government policy rather than oppose it. Maybe this is a political culture in Japan. So,
okay.
Yeah, maybe those many factors, like you say, combined and results in this low-level pandemic. But I don't know that the next situation, because we don't know about the COVID-19 very well. So, and no one can expect the next 10 months, for example. And also that the Japanese government have to reactivate the economic activity, because now that how to say that we have to take a very difficult balance between the health and the economy, or medical health and the economic health of the people. So, and this is maybe we have to do the trial and error, including the university. We also have to consider about the academic satisfaction of the students and the health and the reputation of the university. This is a very difficult choice for us. Now we open the university campus, but there are many risks as well. Okay, so this is, I thought this is my last remark. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Shimada. I think that's very interesting. There are some. Every society has, their own weakness and strength. While there is a big point of, some critical notes that Prof. Shimada himself give to the culture of a Japanese society, but he also admit there are some positive thing. Because I guess you already have the culture of physical distancing. You don't shake hands. You don't hug each other like in the West. In the Netherlands, for instance, you don't kiss each other when you meet your friend.
No.
I
cannot do it.
Right. If you are in the Netherlands, when we were in the Netherlands, we have to hug and kiss each other.
I'm shy doing it.
Okay. And also, your point about student satisfaction about the campus is, I guess, a good point. Pak Adnan, the one that just asked question to you, he has a very interesting point. He said, hopefully next year COVID-19 will go away and working from home will stay still. Jadi kerja dari rumah, semoga tahun depan COVID-nya pergi, tapi kerja dari rumahnya tetap dilakukan. That's what he said. Okay. I think thank you everyone. Thank you for all speakers for giving the answer and also last remark. I remember Prof. Didi, you answered the question from Pak Teguh, but I don't remember that you already gave your last remark. You want to add last point perhaps? Prof. Didi, are you still with us? Okay. It's fine. I remember that Prof. Didi last remark is that my connection got COVID-19. Internet saya mendapat kena corona sehingga tadi mati-mati. And that would be my last remark. For that, I would like to apologize. Prof. Didi.
Infected again. No, your internet should be short.
Prof. Didi, you want to give last remark?
I think this seminar is very, very useful, helpful, especially from Professor Shimada, comparing, at least we can compare Japanese people as compared to Indonesia. And this is, for me, it's very nice. Maybe you have to get have to make again seminar next month like this. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Yeah, perhaps Simada, you can join us in LP3IS for seminar.
I
Comparing
hope
Japan
I have
and
enough time.
yeah, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us. Before we close it, let's please join me to give applause to all the speakers, to Prof. Zuzuru Shimada from Nagoya, Prof. Didi Rahbini from LP3IS and INDEF, to Dr. Lutfi Masin from Unsud, from Undip. Applause for all of them. And thank you everyone for staying with us until now. Hopefully our seminar today can give us insights about what to do to deal with this COVID-19 pandemic that is we still haven't seen the end of it in the near future. Stay healthy, everyone. Thank you very much once again. I apologize for my shortcomings, for my bad internet connection a while ago. Selamat siang. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Assalamualaikum.
Good.
Terima kasih. Pak Didi, Pak Simada. Kapan Pak
sampai jumpa
lagi ya.
Saya memulai moderator dengan laptop, sekarang pakainya handphone akhirnya. Baru lanjut.
Semarang red zone makanya.
Makanya itu dia.
Oke.
Ini ada 5 kali itunya apa tuh terdiskoneksi, mungkin lebih berat nih.
Itu ada yang ikut.
Aku izin live ya, Bro.
Ada peserta Burma Gomedo.
Gimana, Prof?
Itu ada peserta MMA Habib Burma Gomedo.
Oh ya. Oh iya, Prof. Kenapa itu, Prof? Mana?
Gambar
Peserta
Habib. Peserta
oh
seminar.
itu ya. Namanya Habib ya.
Habib Burma Gomedo.
Juara dunia itu, Prof.
Ya.
Dunia MMA itu.
Ya, saya live ya. Terima kasih semua, Mas.
Suan sangat, Prof. Ya, Prof. Suan sangat. Terima kasih sekali, Prof. Terima kasih Simada. Terima kasih Mas Lutfi.
Untuk mendapatkan sertifikatnya gimana?
Mendapatkan sertifikatnya bisa untuk ini ya. Ada form kan? Ada form registrasi yang bisa diisi. Mas Ardi mungkin bisa di-share lagi, Mas, formnya untuk di-share di chat room, Mas Ardi.
Ya, saya nanti share di link chat ya.
Ya, nanti kemudian ketika Bapak Ibu, teman-teman mengisi form itu nanti akan otomatis mendapatkan akan tercetak itu sertifikatnya.
Chat ini ya, chat ini ya. Sekarang ya.
Chat ini. Ya, oke. Ya bisa. Nanti Mas Ardi yang akan menghandle.
Monggo bisa dicek di chat Zoom.
Iya.
Nanti di handle sama Mas Ardi ya. Saya izin live juga ya, Mas Ardi, Mas Gary. Terima kasih, Mbak Umi juga. Hanya kolam.